found no reason to refuse. Indeed, this opportunity to explore the Tiani secret realm is rare and precious. I do not wish to let it slip away. Should you decline, I shall venture alone. Qi Ming's demeanor regained its coolness as she spoke softly. Although her father had attempted to dissuade her, she resolved to see it for herself. Should she forego this journey, it might become a lingering regret. After a moment of contemplation, Yin Bei replied, "Given what the saintess has said, I too am quite eager to embark on this adventure. When do we depart? Do you truly wish to join me?" Qi Ming's eyes sparkled with delight. "At present, I have no better destination." Accompanying the saintess to explore the Tiani secret realm could yield unexpected rewards, Yin Bei said, a smile gracing his lips. "That is splendid. Since you shall set off early tomorrow, I shall accompany you." Qi Ming radiated a smile that could captivate any heart. "Very well, then. I shall take my leave for now, saintess," Yin Bei said with a smile. Few men had likely witnessed such an enchanting expression on Qi Ming's face. "Until tomorrow," she replied. Qi Ming waved farewell to Yin Bei. At last, she had found a disciple of the Qingyun sect who could accompany her to the mysterious Tiani secret realm, which brought her immense joy. As for her father, she decided to act decisively without prior notice. There was no time to hesitate. She simply must venture into the Tiani secret realm. The following day, at Qiulong Mountain. "Senior brother, I have arrived." As dawn broke, Linger had already reached Qiulong Mountain. "Junior sister, you came quite early," Yin Bei remarked with a smile as he emerged from the cave. "Since Master Wulong has spoken, it is only fitting for me to hasten," Linger replied, her quirky nature shining through. She had learned of Yin Bei's true identity, and the excitement had kept her awake throughout the night. Who could have imagined that the enigmatic Master Wulong of the Qingyun sect was none other than her senior brother? "Yin Bei, you mustn't speak of this carelessly outside," Yin Bei cautioned, ruffling Linger's hair playfully. Linger stood there without a hint of resistance, gazing at him with admiration. In the past, she would never have thought that such a mysterious figure would be so close to her. I understand. Senior brother, we must be discreet." Linger beamed with delight. Yin Bei chuckled and shook his head, choosing not to elaborate further. Although his identity as Master Wulong was now known to Linger, he still preferred to keep it under wraps. After all, news of a peak divine palace realm expert in his 20s would surely send ripples throughout the eastern region. It would not be wise to attract undue attention to himself. "Senior brother, you are going out to train today. Why did you summon me to Qiulong Mountain?" Linger asked, wrapping her arms around Yin Bei's. To her, Yin Bei's cultivation seemed superior to that of the sect leader. It felt as though he was merely going out to bully younger disciples. "Linger, I will be away for a while. I have some items to entrust to you," Yin Bei stated, retrieving a plethora of items from his storage ring. Among them were advanced cultivation techniques, treasures, and an abundance of spirit stones. These were all items he had acquired through system sign-ins that held no value for him. However, for Linger and the entire Qingyun sect at this stage, they represented a considerable treasure. Linger stood in shock at the sight of the bounty scattered before her. She had never expected that her senior brother, who had remained at Qiulong Mountain, would be so affluent. "Senior brother, all these items," she stammered, gazing at the glimmering spirit stones on the ground. Yin Bei smiled, opting not to explain the origins of these treasures. Instead, he flipped his palm, revealing a jade pendant that emitted a gentle starlight. This pendant was exquisitely beautiful, infused with the power of the heavens and stars. Wearing it would aid cultivators in harmonizing with the celestial principles, making their cultivation efforts significantly more effective. In critical moments of peril, the starry power could even provide a protective shield, safeguarding the wearer from fatal dangers. However, this item was crafted for women, and since acquiring it, Yin Bei had never worn it. The moment the jade pendant appeared, it captivated Linger's gaze. "Linger, you must keep this safe. It may save your life in a critical moment," Yin Bei said as he draped the pendant around her neck. Linger gazed at the exquisite jade pendant adorning her neck, her face glowing with happiness. "Brother, you are so kind," she replied, her cheeks slightly flushed. Like all young ladies, Linger had a fondness for beautiful jewelry. Yin Bei smiled faintly, choosing silence as he conjured two more treasures into his palm, a long sword that radiated a chilling light and an ancient talisman, along with some medicinal pills. As the sword manifested, the atmosphere atop the prison dragon mountain shifted dramatically. This sword, named Moon Slayer, possessed formidable power, capable of significantly enhancing one's strength. "This is a sensing talisman. If you encounter danger with our master while I am away, simply crush it, and I will sense your location, no matter where I am." Yin Bei meticulously explained the functions of the items to Linger. Although these items were acquired through his sign-in rewards, they were somewhat superfluous for Yin Bei, who had reached the 9th level of the Divine Palace realm. However, for Linger, they were perfectly suited. Uncertain when he would return from this journey, he felt compelled to ensure the safety of both their master and Linger. "Brother, these treasures are far too precious. I cannot accept them," Linger protested, shaking her head vigorously. The sword, Moon Slayer, shimmered with divine light, unmistakably a rare artifact. Having already received the Starlight Pendant, she felt utterly satisfied. Linger, I insist you take it. There is no need for such formality between us, Yinbei declared, playfully pinching her cheek. Very well, Linger acquiesced, no longer arguing, and solemnly secured the treasures. Seeing her compliance, Yinbei nodded in satisfaction. Linger, let me remind you, unless absolutely necessary, do not display these items publicly, as it may attract deadly attention. Yinbei's expression turned serious, emphasizing the gravity of his words. Although these treasures held no value for him, in the outside world, each item could incite widespread turmoil, driving countless cultivators to madness. I understand, Linger replied earnestly, taking Yinbei's warning to heart. Aware that each item presented by her brother was extraordinary, she handled them with utmost care. While I am away, you must diligently cultivate. I hope that upon my return, you will have transcended to the Thunder Tribulation realm, Yinbei said, gently patting Linger's head. He had provided her with ample resources for cultivation, martial techniques, skills, and spirit stones, all at her disposal. It was likely that Linger would make remarkable progress in a short time. I will certainly work hard, Linger declared, clenching her delicate fists with determination. Seeing the adorable girl so resolute, Yinbei couldn't help but smile wryly. Moments later, Linger took her leave. Yinbei stood quietly atop the prison dragon mountain, as if awaiting something. Just then, a whooshing sound pierced the air, and a graceful figure materialized beside him. It was none other than Qiming. In contrast to her amiable demeanor yesterday, today she has reverted to her former icy composure, resembling a frigid mountain. This is the map to the Tianyi secret realm. Keep it safe, Qiming stated as she produced a parchment map and tossed it to Yinbei. Yinbei glanced at it casually and nodded slightly, saying, if that is the case, let us depart. Qiming cast one last look at the Qingyun sect before transforming into a streak of radiant light, disappearing from view. Yinbei followed closely behind, and the Qiulong mountain once again fell into its usual silence. Half a day later, deep within Qingyun, a furious roar erupted. What? Say that again, Qingyun bellowed, fixating a fierce gaze on the disciple reporting to him below. Sectmaster, the saintess has left a letter. She has gone to the Tianyi secret realm, the disciple replied, trembling with fear. Upon hearing this, Qingyun's expression fluctuated, a blend of anger and concern etched across his face. He extended his hand, and the letter instantly landed in his grasp. The letter read, Father, the opening of the Tianyi secret realm is an opportunity one cannot miss. I hope you can forgive me for leaving in haste without informing you. With Yinbei accompanying me, there is no need for concern. I will act within my limits and return swiftly. As he gazed at the elegant script, Qingyun's worry deepened. How could he be at ease knowing Qiming had merely reached the third level of the Thunder Tribulation? Soon, his attention shifted to Yinbei. Yinbei? That lad who mentioned he would venture out for training yesterday? Qingyun rose, his demeanor shifting. What a remarkable boy, to have whisked away my daughter. Fury ignited on Qingyun's face. Fenghan, you truly have raised an exceptional disciple. He fumed, his expression dark as a pot's bottom. Without further delay, Qingyun strode out of the great hall. In the Fengshua hall, Fenghan reclined leisurely in a chair, savoring tea when a small black dot suddenly appeared in the sky, gradually enlarging. Boom. An overwhelming force descended. A scowling Qingyun had arrived. Sectmaster? Fenghan blinked in surprise at Qingyun's expression and hurried to greet him. However, Qingyun did not respond but instead approached Fenghan, seizing his collar. Sectmaster, what is the meaning of this? Fenghan exclaimed, bewildered, unable to comprehend Qingyun's sudden aggression upon entering the Fengshua hall. What is the meaning? Why don't you ask your disciple? Qingyun glared at Fenghan, seething with anger, as if he could devour him whole. My disciple? Fenghan looked puzzled. He had only one disciple, Yinbei, who had been staying at Qiulong Mountain and had just set out for training, according to Linger. What could have provoked the sect master to such wrath? Your prized disciple has taken my daughter. Qingyun's face contorted in rage as he tossed Qiming's letter at Fenghan. Fenghan took the letter, his expression turning increasingly animated. Yinbei has indeed eloped with Qiming, or rather, embarked on a journey of cultivation. Fenghan furrowed his brow and remarked, if I recall correctly, the Tianyi secret realm is restricted to cultivators under the age of 25, is it not? And what of it? Hurry, let us set forth. I hope to encounter them, Qingyun said, releasing the grip on Fenghan's clothing, his expression tinged with urgency. Qiming possessed a cultivation level of the third stage of Thunder Tribulation, which was indeed sufficient in the vicinity of Qingyun's sect. However, the Tianyi secret realm lies beyond the southern wastes, a place where formidable warriors congregate, including those of the Divine Palace realm, who often make appearances. How could he remain at ease? If Qiming were to encounter even the slightest mishap, he would be tormented for a lifetime. They may have already departed from the southern wastes, Where shall we search? Feng Han said in a somber tone. Now that half a day's time has passed, it is likely that Qiming and her companion have already left the influence of the southern wastes. To search now would be akin to seeking a needle in a vast ocean, with the odds of success exceedingly slim. Qingyun's countenance also darkened, unsure of how to proceed. He could only sigh in resignation. He was well aware that the chances of finding them were minuscule. Yet the thought of Qiming entering the Tianyi secret realm left him deeply unsettled. At that moment, Feng Han suddenly recalled something, a glimmer of brilliance flashing in his eyes. Do not be anxious. The Tianyi secret realm may indeed present an opportunity for the two of them. An opportunity? Are you also losing your senses? Qiming is merely at the low tier of thunder tribulation, and your disciple has not even reached that level. Are they not courting death by venturing into the Tianyi secret realm? Qingyun's face flushed with anger, his concern for Qiming intensifying. His impression of Yanbei was still rooted in the time he was imprisoned in the prison Dragon Mountain. Although he appeared somewhat transformed during his farewell the previous day, Qingyun had not given it much thought. He vaguely remembered that when Yanbei was confined in the prison Dragon Mountain, he was merely an ordinary disciple who had not even broken through to the Qi-Si realm. My disciple has not reached thunder tribulation? Feng Han bristled at this statement. What? Am I mistaken? Qingyun was also irked. In his view, had Yanbei not sweet-talked Qiming away, his obedient daughter would never have left. Do you know why Yanbei seeks to venture out for cultivation? It is because he has reached a bottleneck in his cultivation. Feng Han retorted, unwilling to concede. Nonsense. What bottleneck could a Qi refinement cultivator possibly have? Qingyun could no longer restrain himself and erupted in a tirade. Chapter 42. The senior brother is truly powerful. You are the one at the Qi refinement stage. My disciple has already attained the pinnacle of the 9th stage of thunder tribulation. Feng Han glared at Qingyun, his indignation palpable. Their relationship was excellent. And such bickering was not a novel occurrence, though this time it had escalated somewhat. Are you jesting? If your disciple truly possesses the 9th stage of thunder tribulation, I would gladly abdicate my position as sect leader for him. Qingyun could not possibly believe such absurdity and was poised to expose Feng Han's fabrications. He also cast a curious glance at Feng Han, perplexed that this fellow could boast so grandly without having imbibed any alcohol. Truly, one must not fear the wind lest it cause their tongue to slip. Oh, is that what you claim? Feng Han's interest was piqued in an instant. He had wagered against Qingyun countless times, yet he consistently emerged as the loser. This time, however, he was determined to outsmart this fellow decisively. If your disciple truly possesses the pinnacle of the thunder tribulation realm, I shall step down. Qingyun spoke ambiguously. Upon hearing this, Feng Han could hardly suppress his laughter. He had personally assessed Yanbei's cultivation, confirming it to be an authentic mastery of the thunder tribulation realm. You are destined to lose. Feng Han's expression twisted into an enigmatic smile, as if he had already secured his victory over Qingyun. At that moment, they had likely departed from the southern wilderness. What evidence could you provide that your disciple has reached the pinnacle of the thunder tribulation realm? Qingyun felt a pang of anxiety within, yet he found himself at a loss. Even if he exerted all his strength with his Yuan spirit cultivation, it seemed improbable that he could catch up to Yanbei and his companion. Simultaneously, a flicker of anticipation bubbled within him regarding Feng Han's claim. Should Yanbei indeed possess the pinnacle of the thunder tribulation realm, perhaps both of them could glean some benefits from the Tianyi secret realm. Proof? Feng Han's countenance stiffened. For a moment, he was genuinely uncertain how to substantiate Yanbei's prowess. Yanbei rarely made appearances at Qingyun's sect, rendering his acquaintances few and far between, let alone anyone knowledgeable about his cultivation. If not for that lad's display before him the previous day, he might still be in the dark. Now, demonstrating Yanbei's cultivation presented a considerable challenge for Feng Han. It seems I must gamble on luck, he murmured quietly. Then steeling himself, he addressed Qingyun. Respected sect master, you must trust me. Yanbei has truly attained the thunder tribulation stage. But before he could finish, Qingyun's expression darkened, shattering the flicker of hope that had briefly ignited within him. I knew your words were mere fabrications. Qingyun's face turned an ominous shade, his demeanor frighteningly grim. At that moment, the creaking of a door interrupted the tension. Linger emerged from within, adorned with a crystal pendant that radiated an inexplicable aura, as if all the stars in the cosmos converged upon her. Upon seeing Linger, Qingyun's expression softened slightly. He recognized the need to maintain his composure in front of the younger generation. Feng Han's face brightened upon Linger's arrival. He had been worried about lacking evidence to validate Yanbei's cultivation, but now, Linger was the perfect witness. Linger, come here. Feng Han hastily beckoned her forward to stand before Qingyun. With a triumphant grin, he addressed Qingyun. Sect master, if you doubt me, surely you can trust Ling. Qingyun's gaze became gentler. Linger was a well-mannered and intelligent girl he had watched grow up. Linger, tell your uncle, What realm is your senior brother truly in? As he mentioned Yin Bei, Lingru's eyes sparkled with starlight. Uncle Yun, father did not deceive you. Senior brother is genuinely formidable. She refrained from directly stating Yin Bei's cultivation level or identity. Formidable? Qing Yun furrowed his brow. Rest assured, Uncle Yun, I overheard the earlier conversation from my room. During this expedition to the Tianyi secret realm, with senior brother accompanying Sister Ming, you need not worry. Linger spoke earnestly. In her view, her senior brother's cultivation had undoubtedly reached the high tier of the Divine Palace realm. Such extraordinary prowess would render him unmatched within the confines of the Tianyi secret realm. Even the transcendent sons of deities and the disciples of sacred lands would likely find themselves sidelined. Upon hearing this, Qing Yun's brow finally began to unfurl. Alas, may it be so. For now, we can only await the outcome. Qing Yun let out a soft sigh, her gaze drifting toward the horizon as she silently prayed for her daughter. Rest assured, descendants will find their own fortune. We cannot remain by their side perpetually. Fenghan couldn't help but offer words of comfort. Meanwhile, in the eastern region, at Tianyi City, the very seat of the Tianyi secret realm, once a stronghold for those of the Four Extremities realm, all cultivators wishing to enter the secret realm must first pass through Tianyi City for assessment, with only those deemed worthy allowed entry. At that moment, just outside Tianyi City, a woman shrouded in a veil descended alongside a youthful and handsome man. It was indeed Qimeng and Yin Bei who had arrived. As they touched down, the crowd around them began to cast curious glances toward Qimeng. It must be said, her beauty was beyond reproach. Even veiled, her grace could not be concealed. The opening of the Tianyi secret realm is still a few days away. Let us venture inside and find a place to settle, suggested Qimeng. Having just arrived from the southern wilderness, they had traversed multiple teleportation arrays to reach this location. Qimeng now felt a tinge of fatigue and yearned for a place to rest. Yanbei nodded in agreement, and the two proceeded toward the city. As they stepped into the city, a thunderous roar echoed through the air, akin to the cry of a true dragon. Accompanying this were waves of formidable power. On the streets, all faces shifted as they looked up. A young man clad in golden battle armor stood atop a flood dragon, his expression one of disdain, resembling a young emperor in his majesty, radiating overwhelming authority. This is the Heavenly Dragon Hall, someone exclaimed in astonishment upon witnessing the duo. Unbelievably, the visitor was none other than the son of the Heavenly Dragon Hall, evidently here for the Tianyi secret realm. Many cultivators began to murmur amongst themselves, recognizing the young man's identity. The flood dragon circled above Tianyi City before descending into the Lord's mansion, and with it, the terrifying aura dissipated. As discussions erupted on the streets, the implications of the arrival of such a figure took hold. The Heavenly Dragon Hall, Yanbei whispered. It is a preeminent force in the eastern region, teeming with powerful entities. The newcomer was likely the fabled son of the Heavenly Dragon. Upon seeing Yanbei's puzzled expression, Qimeng promptly explained, casting a wary glance toward the Lord's mansion. She had not anticipated encountering such a formidable individual so soon after entering Tianyi City. In the face of the overwhelming presence emanating from the son of the Heavenly Dragon, she felt as if she were but a solitary leaf adrift on the vast ocean, poised to capsize at any moment. In this present day, such formidable figures shall also enter the Tianyi secret realm alongside her, instilling in Qimeng a sense of unparalleled pressure. With the arrival of the dragon god's son, it is likely that other extraordinary prodigies will also be unable to restrain themselves. This Tianyi secret realm promises to be yet another fierce contest. Someone lamented, Yanbei, let us proceed with caution on this journey into the Tianyi secret realm. Should circumstances prove unfavorable, we shall withdraw immediately. Qimeng spoke solemnly. Initially, upon arriving at this place, Qimeng felt a flicker of hope. Yet now, confronted by the aura emanating from the dragon god's son, she seems to have come to terms with reality. This place is ultimately not the southern wilderness. Her tribulation realm cultivation is utterly insufficient here. Yanbei, observing the wariness in Qimeng's eyes, could not help but chuckle inwardly. Rest assured, Your Highness, I shall protect you, Yanbei said with a light laugh. As the saintess had ventured out with him, he naturally intended to escort her back safely. This expedition was merely an opportunity for him to unwind and seek enlightenment in the great Tao of heaven and earth. With hopes of soon breaking through to the Four Extremes realm, he also harbored considerable interest in the Tianyi secret realm, as it might hold the answers he currently sought. Qimeng rolled her eyes in exasperation. She had not anticipated that the usually serious individual would behave so frivolously upon leaving. Nevertheless, beneath her veil, a faint smile graced her lips. In this place, Yanbei was the only one she could truly trust. The two navigated through the bustling city until they soon arrived at the entrance of an inn. Without hesitation, Yanbei stepped inside, only to emerge shortly thereafter with a solemn expression. Still no rooms available. He shook his head, disheartened. They had inquired at no fewer than 7 or 8 inns, yet none offered a room. Qi Ming furrowed her brow in frustration. Countless powerful beings had flocked to Tianyi City in anticipation of the secret realm, leading to an overcrowded situation. Finding accommodation had become a formidable challenge. We arrived a bit late, she mused. Let us search a little longer. If all else fails, I shall devise another plan. Yanbei replied with a resigned smile. Should they truly find themselves without lodging, he would resort to some rather unconventional methods. Soon, they continued their search and arrived at an establishment known as the Drunken Fragrance House. Esteemed guests, please come inside. A cheerful attendant eagerly welcomed them. Yanbei and Qi Ming nodded in acknowledgement and entered the Drunken Fragrance House. Will you be dining or seeking accommodation? The attendant inquired. Accommodation, if you please. Are there any rooms available? Qi Ming asked, weary from their travels and yearning for a place to rest. 2 rooms, alas, how unfortunate. We are completely booked, the innkeeper replied. Embarrassment etched on his face. It seems that all lodgings in Tianyi City are fully occupied. Most cultivators have opted to sleep on the streets. Qi Ming's eyes flickered with disappointment. She had not expected to struggle so greatly in finding even a single place to stay. Just as they were about to turn away, a voice echoed from above the inn. Innkeeper, I would like to check out. This voice, akin to a stone dropped into a pond, stirred a wave of commotion. At this moment, the intoxicating fragrance hall was bustling with patrons, all eyes fixated on the room card held by a young man. The guest rooms had become a coveted commodity. Even if one did not intend to stay, they could resell the room to others for a profit. Especially since many were still without accommodation. The young man descended and approached the innkeeper, handing over the room card in his possession. It was the prestigious Tianzi room. Keen observers immediately recognized the inscription on the card. The Tianzi room was not something just anyone could afford. Soon, the young man was seen with a large bag of spirit stones, turning to shout towards the upper levels of the tavern. Young master, let us depart. It turned out that this youth was merely a servant, eliciting curious glances from those around him. His cultivation had already reached the high ranks of the thunder tribulation stage. Thus, the young master he referred to must be a figure of significant stature. Just then, the door to the Tianzi room swung open. A young man clad in golden battle armor emerged. Could it be the divine son of the heavenly dragon? Someone's expression shifted dramatically as they looked towards the youth. The young man on the upper floor cast a disdainful glance at the crowd below, a smirk curling at the corners of his mouth. Yanbei looked up as well, but quickly averted his gaze, shaking his head slightly. Although this individual bore a striking resemblance, he discerned that this was not the divine son of the heavenly dragon who had recently soared above Tianyi City. This was not the divine son, but rather his younger brother, Long Xingyun. Others soon recognized the young man's identity and whispered among themselves. Long Xingyun, the younger brother of the divine son, was exceptionally gifted, not significantly inferior to his brother. Long Xingyun stood above, disinterestedly shaking his head. Having had his identity unveiled, he saw no reason to linger and directly made his way downstairs. He had vacated the room upon receiving word from his brother to relocate to the city lord's residence. Innkeeper, I shall take this room, Yanbei interjected. He observed the crowd around him, their predatory gazes revealing their eagerness for the room that had just been vacated. Yet they remained silent, daunted by the young man's presence. At that moment, everyone in the tavern's demeanor shifted. They cast sympathetic looks at Yanbei. As expected, Long Xingyun, who was about to exit the tavern, abruptly halted his steps. Chapter 44. Trepidation. It is well known that most individuals from the Heavenly Dragon Palace harbor a peculiar aversion to sharing. Anything they have used or set their sights upon must remain untouched by others, especially beneath their very noses. There was once a disciple of the Heavenly Dragon Palace who, upon vacating a room, found another had immediately taken residence. The outcome for that individual was, unsurprisingly, quite grim. They viewed it as a provocation for someone to occupy a room they had just vacated. This was also the reason many in the hall had coveted the Tianzi room, yet refrained from acting. They were unwilling to offend Long Xingyun, who was no benevolent character. He was far more ruthless than his brother, the divine son of the heavenly dragon. At this moment, Qi Ming's expression subtly shifted, her eyes reflecting deep concern. She could perceive the delicate atmosphere, while Yanbei remained unmoved, standing as if nothing were amiss. You mean the room I just vacated? Long Xingyun turned his head, casting a cold gaze toward Yanbei. Yanbei merely glanced at him indifferently, ignoring the look. Innkeeper, how much for a night's stay? The innkeeper, drenched in cold sweat, continually signaled to Yanbei. 30 spirit stones for 1 night, sir. Perhaps you would prefer to come back later? Yanbei furrowed his brow. Why must I wait for the right moment to check in? Qi Ming's expression changed slightly, observing them from the side, while Long Xingyun remained silent. 30 spirit stones was no trifling sum. It equated to nearly half a year's expenses for the Qingyun sect, yet could only secure a single night here. Yin Bei, perhaps we should reconsider. Let's search elsewhere, Qi Ming urged, tugging at his arm, feeling the weight of many gazes upon her. Moreover, she had brought only 30 spirit stones in total. If they were merely for one night's lodging, she would rather forego it. Not to worry, I cannot allow such a delicate beauty as yourself to sleep on the streets, Yin Bei replied, turning with a faint smile. He then retrieved a pouch of spirit stones from his storage ring and tossed it before the innkeeper. The innkeeper's expression turned grave as he opened the pouch. A surge of potent spiritual energy bursting forth. There were indeed 100 spirit stones within. This is your room key, the innkeeper said, unable to utter more. This gesture caused everyone to raise their eyebrows in surprise. It appeared that this young man was not to be trifled with, casually producing such a significant amount of spirit stones. Qi Ming looked at Yin Bei in astonishment, never expecting him to produce 100 spirit stones at once. This amount could rival the entire treasury of the Qingyun sect, and even then, it would barely suffice. Where did you acquire such wealth? Qi Ming asked, astonished. That's not for you to concern yourself with. Here, take the room key and go rest. Yin Bei replied with a knowing smile, not elaborating further. He handed the room key to Qi Ming, encouraging her to ascend and rest. These spirit stones were acquired during his eradication of the Blood God sect, taken from their treasury. Such stones were abundant in his storage ring, piled high like a small mountain. Holding the room key, Qi Ming felt a warmth in her heart, understanding that Yin Bei's decision to secure this room was entirely for her sake. However, she did not leave immediately. Instead, she stood beside Yin Bei, as someone was now glaring at them with icy disdain. Kid, our young master is speaking to you. Are you deaf? At that moment, a furious subordinate of Long Xingyun addressed Yin Bei. Trouble was brewing, as all eyes in the tavern were fixed upon the unfolding scene. How would this young man resolve the impending conflict? Who let this mutt bark here? Yin Bei's gaze sharpened, his tone unyielding. For some reason, the young man's face paled as he instinctively took a step back. As Yin Beichao cast his gaze towards him, he instantly felt as though he were being scrutinized by a primordial beast, an unparalleled pressure enveloping him in that fleeting moment. However, this oppressive sensation dissipated almost as swiftly as it had arrived. Who dares to call me a dog? The youth's anger surged, realizing he had been startled into retreat by an insignificant character. Just as he was about to retort, a voice interrupted him. Enough, step aside. Do not further disgrace yourself. It was Long Xingyun who spoke. The youth's expression shifted, silenced by the authority in those words, and he promptly retreated behind Long Xingtian. May I inquire of your esteemed origins? Your faces seem rather unfamiliar. Long Xingyun approached Yin Bei and Qi Ming, his demeanor exuding a subtle yet palpable pressure that caused a few onlookers to pale. Qi Ming felt a weight in her heart as Long Xingyun advanced. Where I hail from is of no concern to you. Do you have any other matters to discuss? Yin Bei regarded Long Xingyun with an imperturbable calm, his expression betraying no emotion. An icy silence enveloped the atmosphere, and the crowd could not help but react with alarm. The youth's audacity in addressing Long Xingyun was astonishing. This man is doomed, they thought, for Long Xingyun was notorious for his ruthless nature, and those who incurred his wrath seldom fared well. Sympathy flickered in the eyes of the onlookers as they regarded Yin Bei. Beneath her veil, Qi Ming's expression shifted slightly. Yin Bei's demeanor had undeniably offended Long Xingyun, and they were likely in for trouble. Yet, on the other hand, Long Xingyun's expression remained unchanged, as if he had anticipated this encounter. He surmised that Yin Bei, like himself, hailed from a formidable faction. The fleeting glance Yin Bei had cast towards his subordinate contained an extraordinarily terrifying mental force, which, though momentary, had not escaped his notice. Such calmness and composure were traits he had only witnessed in his brother. After a brief, internal deliberation, Long Xingyun's subsequent words left the assembly in stunned silence. Might I request the honor of your company at the city lord's residence for a gathering? A flicker of wariness crossed his eyes, quickly replaced by a smile as he clasped his hands in greeting to Yin Bei. He sensed that this youth was no ordinary individual. Within him resided a vast and surging power that left him momentarily awestruck. As these words were spoken, the tavern fell into a profound hush. Disbelief etched across every face as they turned to Long Xingyun. Shouldn't the younger brother of the heavenly dragon's son be furious, immediately subduing this arrogant youth? How could it be otherwise? Instead of taking action, he extends an invitation to the city lord's residence? At that moment, Yin Bei gazed at Long Xingyun in astonishment, having anticipated trouble from the matter of the guest room. The unexpected shift in Long Xingyun's demeanor caught him off guard. Who is this youth, that even young Master Long would invite him for a gathering at the city lord's mansion? Murmured a voice in shock, unbeknownst to others. The young man was not as straightforward as he appeared. A myriad of thoughts intermingled within the tavern, as patrons expressed curiosity regarding Yin Bei's identity. The gathering was no longer necessary. At this moment, all Yin Bei desired was a moment of respite. He waved his hand dismissively, declining the invitation. The atmosphere within the tavern fell into a heavy silence, as no one anticipated Yin Bei's refusal. This gathering at the Lord's mansion was not solely attended by the Dragon's Son. Disciples from various extraordinary factions and even those from sacred lands were present. To gain entry into the Lord's mansion and forge connections with these prodigies could potentially benefit one's own path of cultivation in the future. Nevertheless, Yin Bei felt no obligation. He hoped for a serendipitous encounter in the future. Long Xingyun chuckled lightly, casting a glance at Qi Ming, his gaze imbued with an inscrutable significance before he turned to leave. His invitation to Yin Bei was merely a means to alleviate the earlier awkwardness, lacking genuine intent. Until he discerned Yin Bei's true identity, he would refrain from taking any rash actions. After Long Xingyun departed, no one in the tavern dared to provoke Yin Bei. They were not fools. The young man had just demonstrated his dominance over the Dragon's Son's brother. To confront him would be tantamount to courting death. With no further disturbances, Yin Bei turned to Qi Ming and gently said, "You should rest. I'll see if there are any other lodgings available." Qi Ming's beautiful eyes sparkled with intrigue. Her gaze toward Yin Bei, filled with an enigmatic hue. The Yin Bei of moments ago seemed worlds apart from the one before her now. His demeanor was affable and gentle, in stark contrast to the formidable presence he had just exhibited, dismissing even the Dragon's Son's brother. She had anticipated a conflict today. Yet Long Xingyun's attitude underwent a complete transformation, even inviting them to the Lord's mansion for a gathering. Though she was unaware of the nature of this gathering, Qi Ming understood that those who could participate must possess considerable standing and strength. This realization deepened her curiosity about Yin Bei, who now seemed to be cloaked in a veil of mystery. She yearned to uncover the essence of the man before her. "Come with me upstairs," she said, her cheeks tinged with a subtle blush beneath her veil. As a woman, openly inviting a man into her chamber could easily be misconstrued by onlookers. Yin Bei, taken aback, scrutinized her from head to toe, asking, "Are you certain?" Qi Ming, noticing his expression, felt her face redden further. "What are you thinking? I merely suggested you come upstairs to rest and have a cup of tea. I'll call for you when I wish to retire," she retorted, her gaze fixed on him with mild annoyance. The air of enigma that had enveloped Yin Bei dissipated, leaving behind an inexplicable awkwardness. Qi Ming reasoned that, given the scarcity of accommodations in the entire Tianyi city, it would be excessively wasteful for her to occupy the room alone, especially when the evening's lodging cost 30 spirit stones. Thus, under the watchful eyes of the entire tavern, the two made their way to room 1. The young man is indeed fortunate to be accompanied by such a stunning beauty. Ah, if only I could also. Hush, are you courting death? What if he hears you? Upon entering the room, Yin Bei and Qi Ming instantly ignited a fervor within the restaurant. Although Qi Ming's face was veiled, it was evident to all that she was a paragon of beauty. Typically, someone would have approached her by now. But Yin Bei was not someone even Long Xingyun dared to provoke, and thus, no one was willing to risk incurring his wrath. Inside room 1, as soon as Yin Bei stepped in, he was greeted by the intoxicating scent of roses. As he surveyed the room, both their expressions froze. The decor of the room caused Yin Bei's lips to twitch involuntarily. Qi Ming, already feeling bashful, now blushed furiously, her fair skin seeming to ignite. The room was expansive, with the living area exceeding 30 square meters. Every piece of furniture was adorned in shades of pink. To their astonishment, a large bathtub was prominently placed in the center, surrounded by a heart made of scattered rose petals. The entire room was suffused with an enchanting atmosphere. Perhaps I should step outside. Even Yin Bei, despite his usual stoicism, recognized the true nature of this chamber. It was unmistakably a room designed for intimacy. No wonder so many had cast bewildered glances at them just before they entered. He couldn't help but wonder what Long Xingyun and his subordinate had engaged in within these walls. Leaving now would only deepen the misunderstandings. Qi Ming blushed deeply, blocking Yin Bei's path. "If we exit now, they might think I am incapable." Yin Bei nodded thoughtfully. "What are you implying?" Qi Ming's ears turned crimson. She stepped on Yin Bei's foot, then retreated into the bedroom. Yin Bei winced in pain, but smiled as he glanced around the room before heading directly to the sofa. "This place certainly has a romantic ambience," he murmured, closing his eyes and reclining on the sofa to rest. Inside the room, Qi Ming's heart raced, her eyes darting towards the door. This was her first experience sharing a room with a man, and her emotions were in turmoil. She felt a twinge of fear. What if Yin Bei suddenly burst in to do something? What would she do then? However, after waiting for what seemed an eternity in silence, with no sign of Yin Bei stirring, curiosity compelled her to step out of the bedroom. The moment she saw him peacefully sleeping on the sofa, her embarrassment escalated. She had been worried that he might intrude upon her, only to discover he had no such intentions and had already succumbed to slumber. It turned out her fears were unfounded. A smile crept across Qi Ming's face as she gazed at the sleeping Yin Bei, and she quietly retreated back into the bedroom. After all the commotion, she was utterly exhausted and in dire need of rest. However, what Qi Ming was unaware of was that at the very instant she re-entered the room, Yin Bei, who had been peacefully slumbering on the sofa, subtly lifted the corners of his mouth in a faint smile. Chapter 46. The Test in the Evening, Room Number 1. This nap was truly delightful. Yin Bei reclined on the sofa, languidly stretching his arms and yawning. Truly, the comfort of this sofa is unparalleled. The grass mat atop Qilong Mountain pales in comparison. He mused that upon returning to Qingyun's sect, he ought to adorn his cave with a touch of elegance. Just then, a rustling sound emanated from the bedroom, and Qi Ming emerged. "You're awake?" Yin Bei remarked with a smile as he sat on the sofa. Qi Ming nodded lightly, her cheeks slightly flushed, perhaps a result of just having awakened. "Since you're up, let us tidy ourselves and venture out for a stroll. And also procure the token for our journey to the Tianyi secret realm." Yin Bei rose and walked towards the window. Outside, the sun was nearing its descent. Yet the flow of people on the streets showed no sign of diminishing. The upcoming Tianyi secret realm had significant implications for the younger generation of cultivators. Numerous families from the eastern region sent their disciples to Tianyi City, each vying for a share of the opportunities within the secret realm. Once Qi Ming had prepared herself, the two exited their room. At that moment, within the tavern, many patrons cast meaningful glances at Yin Bei and Qi Ming, their expressions suffused with envy. However, none dared to speak out of line. They perceived Yin Bei's mysterious identity and suspected he held considerable influence. Provoking such a figure could lead to dire consequences, perhaps even a death shrouded in mystery. Sensing the gazes around her, a blush crept up Qi Ming's face beneath her veil. In contrast, Yin Bei seemed completely oblivious, embodying the demeanor of one unfazed by the heat of boiling water. Only after the pair exited the tavern did the atmosphere inside begin to stir once more, with patrons engaging in speculation about the identities of Yin Bei and Qi Ming. Tianyi Pavilion. This establishment was founded a millennium ago by a formidable figure who once guarded Tianyi City. It is said that the purpose of Tianyi Pavilion is to safeguard a secret. Yet, this remains merely a legend, and the true nature of that secret is known to no one. Yin Bei glanced at Tianyi Pavilion, and without hesitation, stepped inside. All aspiring talents seeking entry into the Tianyi secret realm must undergo a bone age assessment here and obtain their tokens. Only in this way can they smoothly enter the secret realm when it opens. Even as twilight approached, a considerable number of individuals were queuing within Tianyi Pavilion for their assessments and tokens. The moment Yin Bei and Qi Ming stepped into the pavilion, they captured the attention of numerous onlookers. In recent days, Yin Bei's cultivation had been steadily advancing, although he had yet to break through to the fourth extreme realm. His limbs were gradually shedding their mundane nature, exuding a unique and ethereal aura, akin to an immortal descending from the heavens. At this moment, Qi Ming appeared extraordinarily beautiful, despite the delicate veil that graced her visage, which only served to enhance her enigmatic aura, coupled with her flawless figure. The men present were compelled to yearn for a glimpse of the breathtaking beauty concealed beneath the veil. Such a combination, regardless of the setting, would undoubtedly capture the attention of all. Who is this youth? And that woman is simply exquisite. Within the Tianyi Pavilion, many whispered among themselves, speculating about the identities of Yin Bei and his companion. Yet, none could discern their true identities, and the crowd eventually abandoned their inquiries. As time passed swiftly, the moment for Yin Bei and his companion's assessment arrived. "You may go first," Yin Bei remarked, turning to Qi Ming. As a son of Huaxia, he understood the principle of chivalry. Qi Ming nodded gracefully, exhibiting no pretense. "Very well." She then stepped past Yin Bei and entered a shimmering barrier. Soon, a voice resonated. "Bone age 20, cultivation at the third level of the Thunder Tribulation realm, criteria met." The examiner, expressionless, handed a token to Qi Ming. A smile graced her lips. Receiving the token signified her qualification to enter the Tianyi secret realm. Qi Ming then positioned herself behind Yin Bei, her gaze fixed on his silhouette, a mysterious glint flickering within her eyes. For reasons unknown, she sensed that Yin Bei's true strength surpassed what he had thus far revealed. This opportunity would allow her to ascertain the depth of his cultivation. Yin Bei strode forward, arms outstretched as he entered the luminous barrier. Bone age 21. Cultivation at the Divine Thunder Tribulation. But before the declaration could be completed, a resounding explosion echoed, and a thick cloud of smoke enveloped the entire hall. The testing apparatus had detonated instantaneously. Such an uproar drew the attention of everyone present. "What is happening? The testing device has exploded?" A steward from the Tianyi Pavilion hurried forward to investigate. It seems there was a malfunction during the assessment of this individual. The examiner indicated towards Yin Bei. A malfunction? Could there be something unusual about this person? The steward's gaze sharpened as he scrutinized Yin Bei, only to shake his head and withdraw his attention. How could that be? He is merely a youth. This device, capable of assessing the strength of Divine Palace realm experts, was beyond the capacity of even himself to destroy, let alone that of a mere boy. The steward refocused on the damaged testing apparatus. Moments later, he grimaced as he reported, "This device has been irreparably damaged. It cost the Tianmi Pavilion a significant sum. A single unit required 1,000,000 spirit stones. The acquisition of these instruments had been at the behest of the deceased pavilion master, intended to ascertain the bone age and cultivation of participants in the Tianni secret realm, to facilitate the search for a prodigious disciple to inherit his legacy. Now, to their astonishment, this device had exploded? What shall we do, sir? The examiner's countenance turned pale, sweat beading on his forehead. He made no errors in his operations. So why did the instrument malfunction? He could not comprehend. The steward, his palms slightly damp with sweat, took a deep breath. Fortunately, he had anticipated the possibility of such a device failing and had prepared a replacement in advance. Soon, he ordered his men to bring up another instrument. Exercise greater caution in your operations. Should this one fail as well, I shall hold you accountable. The steward spoke sternly to the testing personnel. If any mishap were to occur during this Tianni secret realm assessment, he would bear the brunt of the consequences. Instantly, several testers bore solemn expressions, wishing they could enshrine the testing apparatus. Chapter 47. The Kingdom of Yunlong. The ninth prince. At that moment, Yin Bei stood by the broken testing device, his face dark with disbelief. He never imagined the instrument to be so fragile. He had clearly suppressed his cultivation to the Thunder Tribulation realm. Yet the device still could not withstand his power. Was this device intentionally set against him? Unbeknownst to Yin Bei, the apparatus was only capable of testing those at the Divine Palace realm. Despite his suppression to the Thunder Tribulation realm, the instrument was measuring his true essence. His cultivation had already reached the pinnacle of the 9th level of the Divine Palace realm, making his strength formidable even compared to some at the Four Extremes realm. Thus, the device exploded under the strain of his might. Do I still need to continue testing? Yin Bei inquired, approaching the testing personnel. The tester glanced at Yin Bei's impatient expression and replied, "No need, you qualify." He was still pondering why the instrument had malfunctioned. As for this brand new device, if it could be spared from testing, then so be it. He would rather not face another breakdown. Subsequently, a token was tossed directly into Yin Bei's hand. Holding the token, Yin Bei felt perplexed. Was the destruction of one instrument truly worthy of such ire? Nevertheless, he saw no reason to be angry with the tester. Yin Bei turned, a smile gracing his features as he looked at Qi Ming. "I have also received my token. Let us go." Qi Ming, momentarily taken aback, nodded in agreement. As they walked the path leading out of the Tianmi Pavilion, Qi Ming cast a curious glance at Yin Bei's back. She had an inkling that the recent explosion of the instrument was somehow connected to him, but she refrained from asking. Just as the two exited the Tianmi Pavilion, a terrifying roar echoed from above. Two colossal silver moon sky wolves, drawing a magnificent carriage, descended from the heavens, eliciting gasps of astonishment from the crowd. Hiss! These are silver moon sky wolves, and one of them is the Thunder Tribulation Silver Moon Wolf King. Such formidable silver moon sky wolves, nearly akin to beast kings, must possess a cultivation level at least at the high tier of the Thunder Tribulation realm, characterized by their ferocity. Yet now, they were being harnessed to pull a carriage. What esteemed figure had arrived, capable of employing two Thunder Tribulation Silver Moon Wolf Kings for such a purpose? At this moment, everyone on the street, upon witnessing the two Silver Moon Wolf Kings, could not help but gasp in awe, their hearts filled with trepidation. Though they had come to participate in the Tianni secret realm and possessed considerable strength, they were still overwhelmed by the presence of these two Silver Moon Wolf Kings. The ferocity of the beast was indeed extraordinary. This Silver Moon Wolf King, although at the advanced stage of the Thunder Tribulation realm, possessed combat prowess that rivaled that of a typical spirit realm human. Such a formidable creature could effortlessly sweep away all present. Yet, it was merely employed to pull a carriage? Who was the noble figure behind this? At this moment, Qi Ming stood to the side, her gaze filled with astonishment. If a beast of this caliber were to venture into the southern wilderness, it would surely face no rivals. Even her father, a cultivator at the first level of the spirit realm, would likely be no match for this creature. Just then, from within the carriage, a strikingly handsome young man stepped forth. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, adorned in a luxurious purple and gold robe, and crowned with a jade tiara, exuding an air of nobility with every gesture. As passers-by caught sight of the jade pendant at his waist, their expressions turned to shock. It was the 9th prince of the Cloud Dragon Kingdom. Some individuals instantly recognized his identity. causing a ripple of astonishment among the crowd. The Cloud Dragon Kingdom, a powerful nation situated within the eastern region, boasted immense strength and numerous formidable warriors. Its sovereign, the Cloud Dragon King, was a superlative powerhouse at the Four Extremities realm. Witnessing the reactions of the people, the Ninth Prince's eyes gleamed with a hint of pride. Although he had encountered such scenes before, they had always been within the confines of the Cloud Dragon Kingdom. Now, in Tiani City, the mere mention of his homeland sent tremors through the gathered cultivators, instilling a sense of vanity within him, a feeling that no land in the world was beyond the domain of his royal lineage. Tiani City, though merely a city, was not under the jurisdiction of any particular power. It had once been home to a formidable figure of the Four Extremities realm, the very master of this city. Yin Bei observed the Ninth Prince and shook his head slightly. Despite the young man's striking appearance, his pallid complexion and unsteady gait suggested a life steeped in indulgence, resulting in severe physical deterioration. Your Highness, this is where you will receive the token to enter the Tiani secret realm. A sycophantic eunuch approached the Ninth Prince, his face beaming with obsequiousness. Let us proceed. The Ninth Prince yawned, nodding before making his way toward the Tiani pavilion. Just as he was about to step into the pavilion, he suddenly halted, turning his gaze to the side. His previously dull eyes brightened instantly. What a beautiful person! A flicker of astonishment crossed the Ninth Prince's eyes. Beside him stood Qiming, who was still entranced by the two silver moon sky wolves. Although the Ninth Prince could not discern her exact features, his extensive experience with women allowed him to recognize her as an extraordinary beauty at a glance. He had encountered many lovely women in his life, yet none could compare to the one before him. Her ethereal demeanor resembled that of a celestial being descending from the heavens, untouched by the mundane world. Upon seeing Qiming, a desire to conquer surged within the Ninth Prince. If he could bring her back to his estate, the days leading up to the opening of the secret realm would surely be far from dull. Yin Bei noticed the gaze of the Ninth Prince and promptly advised, Your Highness, it appears that gentleman is observing you. At that moment, Qiming regained her composure, turning to the side just in time to meet the Ninth Prince's eyes. The peculiar look in his gaze sent a chill through her, prompting her to exclaim, Do not speak nonsense. Let us return. With that, Qiming pivoted towards the direction of Zui Xianglu, with Yin Bei following closely behind. However, at that juncture, a deep, resonant voice called out from behind, Miss, please hold on. The Ninth Prince approached Qiming with swift strides, blocking the path of the two. What is it that you require? Your Highness? Qiming inquired, her brows slightly furrowed. I am Huang Feng. Are you also heading to the Tiani secret realm? It would be prudent for us to proceed together, as we can look out for one another, he said, eyeing the token in Qiming's hand with a smile. For an ordinary person, receiving an invitation from the Ninth Prince to enter the Tiani secret realm would undoubtedly incite great joy, given the formidable allies who surrounded him and the multitude of benefits one could gain. No need, Your Highness. I appreciate your kind offer, Qiming replied, shaking her head without hesitation. Though she was unfamiliar with Huang Feng, she sensed his ulterior motives from the moment he approached her, prompting her swift refusal. Huang Feng's expression stiffened, his countenance darkening. He had not anticipated such a blatant rejection. In the Yunlong Kingdom, no one had ever dared to dismiss his requests. Miss, have you truly considered this? If you accompany me, I assure you that you will navigate the secret realm with ease, surrounded by treasures and wonders, Huang Feng remarked, his gaze lingering on Qiming's alluring figure, his determination unwavering. Such beauty was not something he wished to overlook. Having her in his abode would indeed be a delightful prospect. Qiming's countenance grew troubled. She had no desire to engage with Huang Feng, let alone enter the Tiani secret realm alongside him. Yet, she was reluctant to offend him too harshly, for the terrifying power of the Yunlong Kingdom was not something she could provoke. Just as her inner turmoil peaked, an unexpected voice pierced the air. Has she not already declined? Why persist so shamelessly? Yin Bei remarked coldly, unable to tolerate the Ninth Prince's advances any longer. The way he looked at Qiming seemed to convey a desire to undress her, a sentiment that Yin Bei could not overlook. Instantly, the countenances of all present shifted, with even Qiming widening her beautiful eyes in astonishment at Yin Bei's words. This is troublesome, Qiming thought, her heart sinking. Yin Bei's declaration would surely enrage Huang Feng, and they were likely to encounter difficulties today. As expected, chaos ensued. Impudent. A guard behind Huang Feng bellowed, a powerful aura enveloping Yin Bei as they prepared to strike. However, Huang Feng raised a hand to halt them. His face darkened, a cloud of fury shadowing his features at the audacity displayed before him. Slowly, he turned his gaze toward Yin Bei, demanding, What did you just say? Do you dare to repeat it? His tone was chilling, a murderous intent locking onto Yin Bei. Witnessing the tense atmosphere, Qiming's expression changed in alarm as she hurriedly apologized to Huang Feng. My junior apprentice speaks without thought. However, before she could finish, a powerful hand pulled her behind. Yin Bei stepped forward and said calmly, "If your ears are functioning well, you must have heard what I just said." Gasp. The pedestrians on the street halted, collectively gasping in shock as they beheld Yin Bei. Who is this person? Is he courting death? They never anticipated such audacity, daring to speak to the prince of the Cloud Dragon Kingdom in such a manner. Could it be that this young man possesses some extraordinary background? Entirely unafraid of the Cloud Dragon Kingdom? Speculations ran rampant. Qi Ming felt a surge of anxiety. She was well aware that they had no formidable backing. The Qingyun sect was merely a small faction on the outskirts of the southern wilderness, far too insignificant to provoke a behemoth like the Cloud Dragon Kingdom. You have quite the courage, but it seems you have come to the wrong place for a hero's rescue, Huang Feng sneered. He had been seeking an excuse to take this beauty back with him, and now Yin Bei provided him just that. Dare to insult this prince, and you shall not leave here alive today. Huang Feng's once handsome visage now twisted into a menacing scowl as he thrust his right fist towards Yin Bei with ferocious intent. Boom. A terrifying sound wave erupted, causing the onlookers to change color and quickly retreat to safety. Huang Feng unleashed his full power, his cultivation at the 8th level of Thunder Tribulation, determined to end this ignorant youth with a single blow, so he could swiftly return home to educate this beautiful lady. Qi Ming's complexion paled as she sensed Huang Feng's overwhelming aura, her heart sinking. She understood she might not stand a chance, yet she also realized there was no retreat left. "I seal," Qi Ming cried out, a wave of frost erupting from her palm, instantly enveloping Huang Feng's fist and freezing it. "This inferior ice technique, do you think it can truly seal me?" Huang Feng scoffed, shaking his right arm. Crack! In an instant, he shattered the ice fragments encasing his fist. Qi Ming's face turned ashen. She was utterly incapable of stopping Huang Feng. "Run! They're after me." Qi Ming turned to Yin Bei, tears glistening in her eyes as she urged him to escape. Clearly, Huang Feng's target was her, and in this dire situation, it was better for one of them to flee. Yet, Yin Bei remained steadfast, unmoving, gazing at Qi Ming with concern. "Did I not promise to protect you?" Yin Bei extended his hand, pulling Qi Ming once more behind him. "Be careful." Qi Ming's complexion drained of color as Huang Feng's fist hurtled towards Yin Bei's back. Just then, the heavens trembled, an invisible wave of energy emanating from beneath Yin Bei's feet. Boom. A formidable aura suddenly surged from Yin Bei. Suddenly, he extended a finger into the void, and a terrifying force erupted from his fingertip. Upon witnessing this scene, Huang Feng revealed a hint of disdain. How arrogant! To think he could thwart him with a mere finger. However, in the next moment, Huang Feng's expression changed dramatically, turning pale. A scream echoed through the air as the once proud Huang Feng knelt on the ground, wailing in agony. His fist had been utterly incapacitated by a surge of energy from Yin Bei. "Your Highness." Several guards and eunuchs gasped in shock and rushed forward to assess Huang Feng's injuries. When they discovered that his right fist had been rendered useless, their bodies trembled in fear. Huang Feng was the sole heir of the queen. If she were to learn of this, her wrath would surely be formidable. The onlookers were equally astonished, unable to fathom the sheer strength of this youth, who had effortlessly incapacitated a prince over a mere disagreement. Some among the crowd felt a chill run down their spines, realizing that had they approached him merely for the beauty of his companion, they might have faced an even graver fate than Huang Feng's. At that moment, Qi Ming gazed at Yin Bei with shock. "You defeated him with a single move?" Wasn't Yin Bei merely at the first or second stage of the Thunder Tribulation realm, his cultivation beneath her own? How could he so easily neutralize the 9th prince of the Yunlong dynasty? If he could not handle such a weakling, how could he dare claim to protect her? Yin Bei turned his head and smiled. Qi Ming stared at his silhouette, somewhat entranced. For some inexplicable reason, she felt that Yin Bei was strikingly different from his usual self, evoking a sense of profound familiarity, as if she had encountered him before. Chapter 49, Guardian? At that moment, a furious roar erupted from the street as several guards, their faces contorted with rage, declared, "Who dares to harm the prince of the Yunlong kingdom?" Seeking death. With that, they unleashed a more terrifying force, charging towards Yin Bei. Given the 9th prince's injury, they knew they would face severe punishment for their failure to protect him. Yin Bei regarded the approaching guards with a hint of disdain. He extended his hand, grasping the air. In an instant, a colossal hand of spiritual energy coalesced above, seizing the guards in its grip. This astonishing feat stunned everyone present. Before they could react, Yin Bei struck again, declaring, "You all can come as well." A powerful suction emerged from his palm, pulling everyone beside Huang Feng into his grasp. Even Huang Feng found himself powerless to resist, captured and brought to Yin Bei's feet. "Let me go?" Huang Feng exclaimed in terror, struggling futilely. His body seemed ensnared by an invisible force, rendering escape impossible. What was happening? Who was this youth that could so easily subdue both Huang Feng and his subordinates? The crowd watched in utter astonishment at this spectacle. Yet, a mere swarm of ants dared to attempt a brazen assault in the street. Such audacity deserved eradication. Yan Bei spoke with an air of indifference, a terrifying aura of murderous intent emanating from him. Throughout his life, he harbored a deep disdain for those who, relying on their status, acted with unrestrained arrogance. No, please don't kill me. I won't dare again. At that moment, Huang Feng hastily rose to his knees, bowing his head in supplication, pleading with Yan Bei for his life. The onlookers regarded Huang Feng with contempt, astonished that a prince of such stature would publicly grovel for mercy. Unbeknownst to them, after Yan Bei had annihilated the blood god sect, an immense and terrifying bloodlust had accumulated within him. Now, as it was unleashed, it shattered Huang Feng's spirit entirely. In that moment, Yan Bei appeared to Huang Feng as a demonic figure from the depths of hell. Huang Feng continued to plead for mercy, yet Yan Bei remained unmoved by his cries. Die! He conjured a formidable might in his hand and struck down towards Huang Feng's head. The crowd gasped in horror at the scene, unable to believe that this young man truly intended to slay Huang Feng. After all, he was the 9th prince of the Yunlong kingdom. Should he perish here, the wrath of King Yunlong would be unfathomable, potentially leading to a vengeful invasion. King Yunlong was a formidable figure at the 4th extreme realm. How could Yan Bei dare to act so recklessly? Just as Yan Bei's palm was about to descend upon Huang Feng's head, a terrifying force surged forth from the depths of the Lord's residence. Stop! A voice of authority echoed across the sky. An invisible power enveloped Huang Feng in an instant. Bang! Yan Bei's palm struck the top of Huang Feng's head. The prince, who ought to have perished, now lay unscathed upon the ground. Yan Bei's full strength had been thwarted by that unseen force. There are actually allies? Yan Bei's gaze sharpened as he looked up to the sky. The presence of a formidable figure from the divine palace realm emerged. At that moment, the dormant power within Yan Bei began to awaken. He had only activated his soul realm strength to suppress Huang Feng and the others. Now, realizing that a divine palace expert was present, he understood that he could no longer conceal his own might. Stop! A figure clad in a blue Taoist robe appeared in the air. It was none other than the lord of the city. To think that even the lord had been stirred. The residents on the street hurriedly bowed to the figure above. Indeed, the newcomer was Tian Lin, the current lord of Tianyi City. Tian Lin's gaze was fixed on Yan Bei below, his eyes filled with astonishment. He had not anticipated that this youth possessed such formidable cultivation, capable of subduing Huang Feng and his entourage. What shocked him further was that this young man, fully aware of Huang Feng's status, still dared to attempt to kill him in public. Fortunately, he had arrived in time. Otherwise, the enraged King Yunlong would have brought him considerable trouble. Are you going to intervene on his behalf? Yan Bei regarded the lord in the sky with a calm demeanor. His own power now completely revived. The terrifying strength of the 9th level of the divine palace realm began to surge within him. However, he had mastered the art of concealment, rendering his power imperceptible to others. If the lord were to side with Huang Feng, he would not hesitate to replace the lord of Tianyi City. The residents on the street were collectively astonished as they turned their eyes toward Yan Bei. Who exactly was this young man? How could he be so audacious? Even the city lord wished to suppress him? At this moment, Qiming was already rendered speechless by the shock, standing in place, staring blankly at Yan Bei. The aura emanating from Yan Bei evoked a strangely familiar sensation within her, reminiscent of that fateful night when she had been ambushed by the sacred son of Qing Yun. At that time, Mr. Wulong had also exuded such overwhelming strength. Tian Lin raised an eyebrow, gazing at Yan Bei with a hint of surprise. He too was curious about the identity of this young man, who displayed no fear even in the presence of a formidable expert from the divine palace realm. I am the lord of this city. You all cannot engage in reckless combat within its confines without my intervention, Tian Lin declared in a solemn tone. And what is your intention in obstructing my attempt to slay this man? Yan Bei retorted, his expression unwavering as he questioned the city lord. The crowd held their breath, their expressions filled with astonishment as they observed Yan Bei. Indeed, he was a madman, daring to confront the city lord directly. Tian Lin's countenance darkened. He sensed the young man's arrogance was excessive. Just as he prepared to strike with a measure of reprimand, his expression shifted. At that moment, he discerned a terrifying power lurking nearby. This force sent a chill through him. Tian Lin's consciousness expanded, seeking to identify the source of that energy. Yet it was as fleeting as a shooting star, utterly elusive. This young man had allies. Tian Lin's gaze deepened. The previously sensed ominous energy instilled in him profound trepidation. No wonder this individual was unafraid of the kingdom of Yunlong. At this point, Tian Lin's heart sank, his expression grave as he regarded Yan Bei. Could this person also be an extraordinary divine offspring? Countless thoughts flashed through Tianlin's mind, yet he dismissed each one. He had encountered all the extraordinary factions in the eastern region and was well aware of their divine offspring. Yanbei was certainly not among them. Could he possibly be from the sacred land? A terrifying notion took root in Tianlin's mind. Indeed, only the sacred land would possess protectors of the divine palace realm. With this realization, Tianlin's expression changed, though he could not help but caution. This individual is the 9th prince of the kingdom of Yunlong. Are you aware of the consequences of slaying him? Chapter 50. A million spirit stones for redemption. The king of Yunlong was a formidable being of the Four Extremes realm, possessing unparalleled prowess. Should his most beloved 9th son perish here, the king would undoubtedly be furiously enraged. Although he held little regard for this Huangfeng, they were in Tianyi City. If Huangfeng were to die here, as the city lord, he too would be embroiled in a troublesome affair. This was the true reason Tianlin had just intervened to protect Huangfeng. Consequences? Yanbei's gaze sharpened slightly. The king of Yunlong is a mighty being of the Four Extremes realm. If you truly wish to act, I shall not hinder you. But have you genuinely considered your decision? Tianlin spoke gravely. The sense of terror he had felt emanating from behind Yanbei made him aware that today, he might not be in a position to dictate events. Should he forcefully take Huangfeng away, it could very well backfire. If he provoked the protector behind Yanbei to reveal himself, the situation could become exceedingly troublesome. Yanbei, perhaps it would be best to let them go. We cannot afford to provoke the Cloud Dragon Kingdom. At this moment, Qi Ming wore a heavy expression as she communicated telepathically with Yanbei. The Qingyun sect is merely a small sect on the fringes of the southern wilderness. Confronting the Cloud Dragon dynasty directly would be akin to striking a rock with an egg. Yanbei hesitated for a brief moment, but ultimately decided. Since you have interceded on their behalf, I shall spare their lives today. Indeed, though he could have elegantly departed after slaying Huangfeng without leaving a trace, doing so would inevitably force them to vacate Tianyi City. After all, the ruler of the Cloud Dragon Kingdom is a formidable being of the 4th Extreme realm, and it would be quite troublesome if he were to come seeking vengeance. Upon hearing this, Huangfeng felt a slight weight lift from his heart. He would not perish today. However, to ensure his survival, he must present 100,000 spirit stones. I will grant you your freedom today. At this moment, Yanbei's gaze shifted to the ground where Huangfeng lay. This look struck Huangfeng with the force of a thunderbolt. The crowd collectively gasped in astonishment. 100,000 spirit stones. This is no trivial sum. Even the celestial Tianlin, hovering in the air, could not help but be taken aback. 100,000 spirit stones could represent the lifetime savings of some powerful beings in the divine palace realm. This youth audaciously demanded such an amount. Huangfeng trembled, a note of desperation in his voice as he pleaded, I only brought 500,000 with me. Could you grant me a few days' grace? Having been pampered since childhood, he was utterly terrified by Yanbei. The overwhelming aura of impending doom surrounding him made it abundantly clear that this man was nothing short of a butcher, with countless lives likely lost at his hands. The spectators murmured in disbelief. A prince ranked at the bottom of the hierarchy had ventured out with 500,000 spirit stones. Truly, the Cloud Dragon Kingdom is extravagantly wealthy. No, you have 15 minutes. If you do not present 100,000 spirit stones within that time, I shall strike you down. Yanbei's demeanor was unyielding, devoid of any jest. Huangfeng's face turned pale. He had no doubt regarding the veracity of Yanbei's words. If he failed to procure 100,000 spirit stones in 15 minutes, he would indeed face his demise here. The streets were now teeming with a dense crowd, primarily comprised of the younger generation of geniuses, with few seasoned warriors among them. They all gazed in astonishment at the unfolding scene. The news of the 9th prince of the Cloud Kingdom being publicly subdued in Tianyi City spread like wildfire. The onlookers continued to multiply. Qi Ming, sensing the weight of the gazes upon them, felt immense pressure. Most of those present were cultivators of higher realms than hers, and the pressure they exuded was unimaginable. Were it not for Yanbei standing beside her, the sheer intensity of this pressure would have unsettled her mind. Huangfeng, in a state of panic, looked around frantically, desperate to gather the 100,000 spirit stones. In comparison to his life, what were 100,000 spirit stones? His gaze darted about, seeking a familiar face. But as he searched, his expression quickly soured. This place is ultimately not the kingdom of Cloud Dragon, and he does not know a single soul here. However, in the next moment, he cast his gaze upon Tianlin in the void. Lord City Master, could you lend me 500,000 spirit stones? I solemnly promise to repay you in full. Huangfeng looked at Tianlin with an expression of desperation. In the void, Tianlin's lips twitched. This lad had audaciously come to him for a loan. 500,000 spirit stones was no trifling sum for him personally, yet if he refused at this moment, it was likely Huangfeng would meet a tragic fate here, and the Prince of Cloud Dragon would undoubtedly direct his ire towards him. Very well. For the sake of the Prince of Cloud Dragon, I shall lend you 500,000 spirit stones. With a gentle sigh, Tianlin flickered with light, and a spatial pouch fell into Huang Feng's hands. He was not concerned about the Prince of Cloud Dragon defaulting, for such a loan made in public would carry a degree of credibility. This amounts to 1 million spirit stones. I apologize for my earlier offense. Huang Feng accepted the spatial pouch and promptly handed over his own 500,000 spirit stones to Yan Bei, pleading for his life. Witnessing this scene, those present could not help but sigh. A dignified prince had been pushed to such a state. Yet, they were also curious as to why the city master did not intervene to halt this farce, but instead chose to observe from the sidelines. After receiving the 1 million spirit stones, Yan Bei nodded, saying, "Consider this a lesson learned. You may leave." "Thank you, my lord, thank you." Huang Feng hurriedly bowed and turned to flee with his subordinates. However, just as he was about to exit the street, his expression transformed into one of profound resentment. "Today, I, Huang Feng, shall ensure that you pay a bloody price for this." Huang Feng's heart roared with fury, yet his countenance revealed no trace of change. It turned out that all his earlier display was merely an act to save his own skin. Now that he had narrowly escaped death, he would not forget the humiliation of today, nor would he forget Yan Bei. He had firmly etched Yan Bei's visage into his memory. Once Huang Feng had left the street and could no longer see Yan Bei and the others, he immediately sent a message to his second brother, instructing him to gather people to come to Tianyi City. Huang Feng's expression was grim as he addressed his guards. Yes, the guards, also filled with rage, felt humiliated on the street, a disgrace to their kingdom, and cast a scornful glance at Huang Feng. Had he urged them to fight to the death earlier, they would have followed without hesitation. Yet, Huang Feng's cowardice brought shame upon the kingdom. At this moment, Huang Feng was seething with anger, oblivious to the disdain in his guards' eyes. Chapter 51. The goddess Feng Zhiyue in the street. Yan Bei watched as Huang Feng fled, a cold smile gracing his lips. With his capabilities, how could he not perceive the venomous resentment in Huang Feng's eyes? However, since the other party had already surrendered 1 million spirit stones, he decided not to trouble him in the near future. He regarded Huang Feng as a mere insignificant character, and should the latter seek death again, it would be of no concern to him. "Let us depart." Yan Bei turned to Qi Ming, noting that the street was exceedingly crowded. In this bustling and chaotic environment, it was inconvenient to linger. He extended his arm, encircling Qi Ming's slender waist, and in an instant, they vanished from the street. In the void, Tianlin observed the sudden disappearance of Yan Bei, his brow furrowed in concern. Even he had not discerned how Yan Bei had departed. It seemed likely that the guardian behind him had intervened. A chill ran through him, grateful that he had refrained from acting, for otherwise, he too might have been ensnared here. The current state of Tianyi City was precarious, with his father having just passed away, making it unwise to provoke further troubles. Tianlin extended his consciousness, attempting to trace Yan Bei's whereabouts, but found no traces left behind. Reluctantly, he decided to depart. There was a banquet at the Lord's residence that evening, and it was inappropriate for him to linger outside any longer. Thus, he transformed into a streak of light and returned to the Lord's manor. The onlookers on the street were plentiful. Where did that madman come from? No one knew. They had never seen him before. Hush! I saw them at the Zhuexiang Lu during the day. Zhuexiang Lu. Meanwhile, the incident earlier that day, where Yan Bei nearly clashed with Long Xinyun, the brother of the Tianlong divine son, also circulated among the crowd. Those present cast curious glances towards the Zhuexiang Lu, intrigued by Yan Bei's identity. This madman had just arrived in Tianyi City, and within a day, had already encountered conflict with 2 prominent figures. Throughout Tianyi City, whenever Yan Bei was mentioned, he was referred to as the madman. After all, until this moment, aside from Qi Ming, no one knew Yan Bei's name. Zhuexiang Lu room number 1. The void trembled, revealing a dark fissure through which 2 figures materialized in the room. Qi Ming stared blankly at Yan Bei. "Have we returned?" Yan Bei smiled, "Of course. Do you wish to be observed by the crowd on the streets?" Qi Ming seemed lost in thought, standing there in a stupor. The events of that day had profoundly impacted her. The various techniques displayed by Yan Bei, along with his enigmatic prowess, left her utterly astonished. "Are you truly Yan Bei?" Qi Ming regarded him with a hint of skepticism in her beautiful eyes. Although her interactions with Yan Bei at the Qingyun sect had been limited, he was nonetheless the sole disciple of Elder Feng Han, and they had crossed paths several times. Since that incident when Yan Bei had inadvertently seen her bathing, she had gradually begun to take notice of him. "Am I an imposter?" Yan Bei chuckled softly. He understood that the occurrences of today must have left Qi Ming quite shaken. "What about your cultivation?" Qi Ming asked, her gaze filled with doubt as she recalled the terrifying strength he had just exhibited, easily suppressing Huang Feng. Moreover, Yan Bei's composed demeanor in the presence of the city lord, a genuine divine palace realm master, was something even her father would struggle to emulate. You will come to know that in due time. It is quite late now. You should rest, Yanbei replied, spreading his hands and slowly closing his eyes as he settled onto the sofa. Qiming gazed at Yanbei, hesitating to voice her thoughts. At that moment, her mind was flooded with a myriad of questions yearning for Yanbei's elucidation, yet she found herself at a loss as to where to begin. Thus, with countless inquiries swirling within her, Qiming retreated to her chamber. The city lord's mansion was particularly lively that night, adorned with splendid carriages stationed outside its gates. The beasts harnessed to these carriages included terrifying fourth-tier magical beasts, comparable in might to human cultivators at the soul formation stage, which hinted at the illustrious status of those within the carriages. The evening's banquet was hosted atop a pavilion overlooking a spiritual lake, shrouded in mist that rendered the scene akin to a celestial paradise. Within the pavilion, melodious strains of a guqin floated through the air, while graceful maidens danced enchantingly along the lakeshore. A gathering of young elites, clad in resplendent attire, mingled harmoniously, relishing the exquisite beauty before them. At that moment, a beam of azure light descended from the heavens, heralding the return of the city lord, Tianlin, who had just returned from the heavenly secret pavilion. All present rose in unison to greet him, among them a strikingly formidable youth who inquired, "My lord, what transpired that necessitated such haste?" The gathering turned their attention to the speaker, who was none other than Long Xingtian, the contemporary son of the Heavenly Dragon Hall, honored with the title of Heavenly Dragon Son. Moments prior, the city lord had been engaged in animated discourse with the distinguished talents of various factions, yet suddenly, his countenance shifted dramatically, and he vanished in a flash of light, leaving all in a state of bewilderment. Curiosity bubbled among the attendees. What occurrence could provoke such alarm in a being of the city lord's caliber? "I merely encountered a mysterious individual," Tianlin replied with a wry smile, shaking his head. Mysterious? All present were individuals of noble lineage and exceptional intelligence. Who could possibly warrant such a descriptor from the city lord? "We are indeed intrigued, my lord. Pray, enlighten us about your recent encounter, to add a touch of flair to our revelries," Long Xingtian suggested as he stepped forward to welcome the city lord. "Indeed, my lord. Do regale us with your tale, so we may glimpse the enigmatic figure you speak of," chimed a voice as ethereal and melodious as a gentle breeze. Rising gracefully from the center of the pavilion was a maiden clad in a flowing crimson gown. She radiated breathtaking beauty, illuminated by the moonlight, resembling an enchanting spirit of the night. The assembly turned to behold her, and as they spotted the radiant phoenix mark upon her brow, they collectively gasped in astonishment. Her identity was formidable. She was Feng Zhiyue, the divine maiden of the extraordinary power, the Fire Phoenix Valley. The young prodigies seated at the pavilion's periphery were captivated by her presence, their eyes gleaming with wonder. Among those present, none were of ordinary stature. And standing beside Long Xingtian was a youth strikingly similar in appearance, whose gaze was fixated on Feng Zhiyue with a mix of admiration and trepidation. Yet, he could only observe from a distance, too daunted to approach her directly. To comprehend the gravity of the situation, one must acknowledge that even her brother lacks the confidence to conquer this formidable opponent. Chapter 52. The worrisome son of the heavenly dragon in the city lord's mansion. Within the water pavilion, Tianlin noticed the intense curiosity among the gathered guests, and, wishing to maintain their enthusiasm, smiled and said, "Very well. I shall recount the events that transpired outside the Tianmi pavilion." After a brief pause, a voice broke the silence. "Oh, this individual acts with such ruthlessness, attempting to slay a prince in broad daylight. Is he not concerned about the repercussions from the Yunlong kingdom?" A young nobleman, adorned in splendid garments, expressed his astonishment. "The Yunlong kingdom is no trifling force. It is a prosperous realm governed by formidable experts. Excluding the extraordinary powers, it can rightfully be considered one of the most flourishing forces in the eastern region. It is shocking that this enigmatic figure, aware of Huang Feng's identity, would still seek to eliminate him while demanding a ransom of 100,000 spirit stones for his life. Who could possess such audacity? To toy with the companion of another is audacious indeed. Fortunately, that individual did not disappoint. Had I been present, I would have surely struck down Huang Feng myself." Feng Zhiyue declared with a countenance both fierce and indignant. She had long heard of Huang Feng's notorious behavior, brazenly harassing virtuous women throughout the Yunlong kingdom. In her eyes, the demise of such a scoundrel today would serve as a righteous purging of evil. The assembly was taken aback, beads of sweat forming on their brows. This young lady's temperament was exceedingly fiery, openly proclaiming her intent to slay Huang Feng. If it were anyone else, such words would be met with derision. Though Huang Feng had yet to reach the realm of Yuan Shan, his background was indeed formidable, backed by the Yunlong kingdom. However, this young lady was a different matter altogether. While the Yunlong kingdom was powerful, it paled in comparison to the Fire Phoenix Valley, which was rumored to harbor a living extraordinary being. Such a legacy was beyond the reach of the Yunlong kingdom. An extraordinary being's intervention could swiftly reduce a force like the Yunlong kingdom to ashes. Could it be that a mysterious man and a veiled woman are involved? Murmured a figure beside the son of the heavenly dragon, resembling him closely. It was Long Xingyun, who, upon hearing the city lord's account, recalled the individual with whom he had nearly clashed earlier in the drunken fragrance pavilion. That person, too, exhibited extraordinary prowess, effortlessly intimidating his thunder tribulation-level subordinates with a mere glance. "Oh, do you recognize the person the city lord mentioned?" The son of the heavenly dragon turned to his brother. Having clearly heard Long Xingyun's words from such proximity, all present were distinguished experts, and as one of the protagonists of the evening, the son of the heavenly dragon commanded immediate attention upon speaking. "Brother Xingyun, do you know this person?" A tall figure clad in armor rose, his gaze piercing as he regarded Long Xingyun. He clenched his fists, for he was the heir of the Bapuanzong, a sect located within the Yunlong kingdom, which maintained a close alliance with it, akin to branches of the same tree. Huang Feng has become as close as a brother to him. Now, as Huang Feng faces bullying in the city, he feels a surge of anger, eager to avenge his friend. Although the Phoenix Goddess has just declared her intent to slay Huang Feng, he dares not voice a rebuttal, for she is a divine figure from an extraordinary power beyond his reach. However, this mysterious individual appears to be different. Judging by the city lord's tone, it seems the opponent lacks any significant background, relying solely on a modicum of strength to act with impunity in the city. Upon hearing this, curiosity sparked among the crowd, all eager to uncover the identity of Yin Bei. Long Xingyun rose with a wry smile, admitting, "I do not know him well. Yet I have had an acquaintance with this individual." He then recounted his encounter with Yin Bei at the Zhuexiang Lu earlier that day. "Oh, so this person is still in room number 1 at Zhuexiang Lu?" The armored man from the Bakuan sect remarked solemnly. "It seems he should still be there with his companion." Long Xingyun nodded in agreement. He was oblivious to the armored man's expression, instead lost in thoughts of the enchanting beauty beside Yin Bei. He yearned to discover what transpired between Yin Bei and Qi Ming in that room. Recalling Qi Ming's striking elegance stirred a tumult of emotions within him, and his gaze shifted once more to Feng Zhiyue. Surely, only she among the many heavenly beauties present could rival the allure of the woman who had removed her veil. Since he remains at Zhuexiang Lu, why not invite him here? With so many young talents of the Eastern Domain gathered, it would be splendid to witness the mysterious genius in person. The armored man stated impassively, though internally he was sneering. If Yin Bei were to arrive, he would have the opportunity to humiliate him before the assembled company. A fitting retribution for Huang Feng. Simultaneously, he was curious to see if the city lord's claims about this enigmatic figure held any merit. "This proposal is commendable." The Phoenix Goddess Feng Zhiyue interjected. "The city lord has mentioned that this individual possesses a primordial spirit cultivation level, thus qualifying him for this banquet." She too was immensely intrigued by Yin Bei. With so many young prodigies in the Eastern Domain, it was astonishing that someone like Yin Bei could appear within their midst, unrecognized by anyone. The gathered talents nodded in agreement. Then who shall be tasked with inviting him? Who will go? This posed quite the conundrum. Surely, it would not be appropriate for the city lord himself to make the journey. Eventually, all eyes converged on one individual. Long Xingyun, sensing the weight of their gazes, offered a rueful smile. "Long Xingyun, among all present, you alone have interacted with this person. It seems this task falls to you." Feng Zhiyue's crescent-like eyes curved slightly, a smile gracing her lips as she spoke. Upon seeing her smile directed at him, Long Xingyun felt a jolt of determination. "Rest assured, esteemed guests, I shall not fail this mission." With that, he rose and transformed into a streak of sword-like energy, soaring toward the Zhuexiang Lu. The heavenly dragon's son observed this spectacle with a shake of his head. His brother possessed many admirable qualities, but was far too captivated by feminine charm. Feng Zhiyue merely graced him with a smile, and he was willing to run errands for her. He often admonished his younger brother to prioritize the grand path, asserting that women, like wealth, are but external possessions, and only the eternal road is worthy of pursuit for a cultivator such as himself. Yet, his brother, while verbally assenting, would invariably transform into a different being upon encountering a beautiful woman. It truly caused the elder brother considerable distress. Chapter 53, Shedding Mortality, Drunken Fragrance Pavilion, Room No. 1. Qi Ming reclined on the bed, reflecting on the myriad events of the day. The shocks that Yin Bei had delivered to her were overwhelming. At this moment, Yin Bei appeared to her as a mysterious figure shrouded in layers of fog, leaving her perplexed as to which version of him was authentic. Wait, a mysterious figure? Qi Ming's eyes widened in realization, suddenly recalling the enigmatic powerhouse who had repeatedly come to the aid of the Qingyun sect, Mr. Wulong. Instantly, a silhouette enveloped in chaotic mist materialized in her mind. As the haze around that figure began to dissipate, the visage of Yin Bei emerged. His form, demeanor, and the formidable presence he had displayed just moments ago on the street were strikingly identical. Could it be that Yin Bei was indeed the legendary Mr. Wulong of the Qingyun sect? Qi Ming's expression shifted between astonishment and uncertainty. She cautiously leaned out of her room and stole a glance at Yin Bei, who was seated on the sofa in meditation. At that moment, gazing at his handsome features, she found herself momentarily entranced. If Yin Bei truly was Mr. Wulong, the thought ignited a blush upon her delicate cheeks. The figure who had descended from the heavens to rescue her from peril suddenly reappeared in her mind, an image that haunted her dreams, surfacing unbidden whenever she drifted into slumber. In a world that venerates martial prowess, Qi Ming, as a woman, naturally idolized the strong. A year prior, when Yin Bei inadvertently saved her from the ambush set by the holy son of Qingyun, her heart began to transform. She had dispatched numerous inquiries within the sect, seeking to uncover the identity of Mr. Wulong, but all her efforts had proven fruitless. Now, Yin Bei's demeanor rekindled memories of Mr. Wulong. Before making any comparisons, she had never contemplated this possibility, nor believed Yin Bei could embody that mysterious and powerful figure. However, the revelations of today prompted her to recall various details, and she found the similarities between Yin Bei and Mr. Wulong to be strikingly abundant. Could he truly be that person? Qi Ming gently pressed her lips together, her uncertainty palpable. Standing at the threshold, Qi Ming hesitated for quite some time, ultimately suppressing her doubts and refraining from inquiring with Yin Bei. Thus, she closed her eyes in contemplation, gradually succumbing to the embrace of slumber. Time slipped away in the tranquil room number 1. Yin Bei remained motionless upon the sofa, a flow of grayish-white energy circulating around his form, rendering him majestic and divine under the moonlight. Suddenly, as Yin Bei's arms began to glow, his sleeves instantaneously transformed into fine powder. A frown of immense agony creased his brow, as the radiance emanating from his arms intensified with brilliance. At this moment, his arms were shedding their mortal form, a pivotal step towards entering the realm of the four extremes. Heavenly Convergence Technique. Yin Bei roared, an invisible force enveloping the entirety of Room 1. Just as the power of the Heavenly Convergence Technique cloaked the space, a thunderous explosion reverberated through the air. His left arm underwent the transformation first, the preceding sound being the thunderous roar of his muscles. In the room, Qi Ming was taken aback. Her heart racing. Was the house collapsing? She hastily rose, and upon reaching the living room, she was struck with overwhelming astonishment at the scene before her. At that moment, in the living room of Room 1, Yin Bei floated in midair, an unfathomable aura radiating from him. His left arm erupted with divine brilliance, and he sensed that it was now vastly different from before, its power magnified manifold. Boom! A resounding explosion erupted from his right arm, an incomprehensible energy flooding the entire room. Had he not exerted immense control, the entire Zhuexiang Tower would have been reduced to mere dust in an instant. Ah! Qi Ming gasped, instinctively covering her eyes with her delicate hands. The recent explosive display had rendered Yin Bei's garments into nothingness, for such ordinary attire could not withstand the surging energy within him. Return to the room, Yin Bei managed to utter, feeling somewhat vulnerable, exposed before the stunning beauty. Qi Ming, shielding her eyes, nodded obediently. Yet, driven by curiosity, she slightly parted her fingers to steal another glance at Yin Bei before swiftly retreating to her bedroom. Once in her sanctuary, Qi Ming clutched her chest, her heart racing uncontrollably. The thoughts of the recent events caused her cheeks to flush crimson as she buried herself beneath the covers. A quarter of an hour passed, and the radiance in the living room gradually diminished. Yin Bei surveyed his arms, a bittersweet smile gracing his lips. They had become remarkably smooth, akin to jade, likely inducing envy even among the fairest of maidens. Yet, only Yin Bei understood that this transformation had exponentially amplified his strength. If he were to confront his former self from the day prior, he would likely be unable to withstand even a single blow. It was crucial to note that he had yet to genuinely step into the realm of the four extremes. He had merely shed the mortal coil from his arms. Simultaneously, he comprehended the reason for his prolonged struggle to ascend into the four extremes. To transcend into that realm, he must fully shed the mortal essence from both arms and legs, a preparatory measure for entering the extraordinary domain. If he possesses the unparalleled physique known as the chaos body, it is no wonder that even breaking through to the four extremes realm requires such immense effort. It is understandable that, within the Eastern domain, there are numerous powerful beings in the Divine Palace, yet true masters of the four extremes realm are a rarity. He could sense that should he successfully transcend into the four extremes, his strength would experience a qualitative leap. It is astonishing to think how formidable those extraordinary beings, and even sages, must be, given his terrifying prowess before even reaching the four extremes. For the first time, a glimmer of longing appeared in Yen Bei's gaze. With a mere gesture, he could shatter mountains and rivers. How powerful must those even more extraordinary beings be? Yen Bei was filled with immense aspiration, firmly believing he would ascend to the pinnacle of this world. He reached for the storage ring laid aside and slipped it back onto his finger, retrieving a clean set of clothes to don. In a situation where a lone man and woman shared a space, it would indeed be improper not to wear attire. Chapter 54 settled the score. Just as he finished dressing, a faint voice emerged. "Are you all right?" Qi Ming, peering with a complex expression, blushed slightly. Yen Bei was taken aback. He quickly checked his attire and, seeing himself properly dressed, exhaled a sigh of relief. "Why is the princess still awake and sneaking a look at me?" Yen Bei gestured to ease the awkward atmosphere. Qi Ming's heart, which had just calmed, surged once more, and she flustered, retorted, "What are you talking about? That is not true." "Just joking," Yen Bei replied. "You saw me once, and I saw you once. I suppose that evens things out." Observing Qi Ming's bashful demeanor, he teased further. Indeed, her ears turned crimson, and the flush spread rapidly across her previously fair skin. She suddenly recalled a year ago, at Qingyun's sect, when Yen Bei had stumbled upon her bathing and seen her in her natural state. "No, I'm not discussing this anymore. I'm going to sleep," Qi Ming exclaimed in a panic, swiftly retreating to her room. Yen Bei chuckled. Sometimes, having a beautiful woman to tease was rather delightful. Just then, Yen Bei murmured, directing his gaze towards the door of room 1. "Knock, knock." 2 crisp knocks echoed, announcing someone's presence. "Who is it?" Yen Bei inquired, frowning. "Why would someone come knocking at this hour? Did I not instruct the attendant not to disturb me?" "This is Long Xingyun," came a robust voice from outside. A gasp rippled through the drunken fragrance tower. Had the younger brother of the heavenly dragon prince come to visit room 1 at such a late hour? Had Long Xingyun returned in a huff, seeking trouble? Yen Bei was taken aback. He vaguely recalled the name. Long Xingyun. Wasn't he the one who nearly clashed with him during the day? Did this individual intend to contest him for room 1? Yen Bei's expression grew cold as he approached and opened the door. "Long Xingyun, what brings you here?" he said indifferently. At this moment, Long Xingyun felt a sudden tension in his brow, as an overwhelming sense of dread enveloped him the instant the door swung open, nearly causing him to falter. "I have heard of your formidable prowess, esteemed sir. I come on behalf of the Phoenix Goddess, Miss Jiyu, to extend an invitation for you to join us at the City Lord's mansion for a gathering," he said, his face adorned with a smile. As if the earlier near conflict with Yen Bei had not been his doing at all. "The Phoenix Goddess?" Yen Bei queried, a hint of confusion in his eyes. He had never encountered such a name before. However, the atmosphere in the Zhuexiang Lu immediately turned somber. "Did I hear correctly? The Phoenix Goddess has personally invited him to the City Lord's mansion. Who is this individual truly?" "Hush, if you value your life, keep your voice down. Did you not witness the tragic fate of Huang Feng outside the Tianmi Pavilion an hour ago?" The patrons of Zhuexiang Lu whispered among themselves, their expressions tinged with apprehension as they cast furtive glances toward the prestigious room above. "The young elites of the City Lord's mansion are eager to make your acquaintance. Might you consider gracing us with your presence for a small gathering?" Long Xingyun adopted a humble demeanor, devoid of any arrogance. Since this was a request from Feng Jiyu, he was determined to fulfill it earnestly. Yen Bei regarded Long Xingyun with a hint of skepticism, pondering whether this was merely a ruse. Could this fellow be genuinely so amiable as to travel all this way to invite me to a gathering? However, upon observing Long Xingyun's demeanor, he found no trace of deceit. "You may accompany him. Perhaps you will forge some new friendships," Qi Ming suggested gently as she emerged from her chamber. Upon seeing Qi Ming without her veil, Long Xingyun's eyes sparkled with admiration, only to dim slightly with a tinge of melancholy. She was a striking beauty, yet alas, she was already someone else's partner. He sighed inwardly, feeling a sense of regret. Though he had heard that being espoused could be quite rewarding, Long Xingyun, as the brother of the heavenly dragon's son, still adhered to certain principles. "Yen Bei, I have heard that tonight's gathering at the City Lord's mansion will be quite splendid. You should consider attending," Qi Ming encouraged softly. In her eyes, Yen Bei was an unparalleled talent who, while hidden within the Qingyun sect, had no peers among the youth, prompting him to engage in intensive training until his recent emergence. She had also heard of the gathering at the City Lord's mansion, where even scions from extraordinary factions would be present. With Yen Bei's strength, he would surely not be at a disadvantage. He might even cultivate valuable friendships. Moreover, the distinguished guests at the gathering were all of noble lineage or immense power. Establishing connections with even a couple of them could prove crucial for Yin Bei's future cultivation journey. Simultaneously, Qi Ming couldn't help but smile wryly to herself. With her modest talents, she likely would merely be a transient figure in Yin Bei's life, as he was destined for far greater horizons. Indeed, many illustrious talents await your arrival, eager to witness your prowess firsthand, Long Xingyun unabashedly proclaimed. He aimed to ensnare Yin Bei first, thus providing himself with a favorable standing with Feng Zhiyu. Qi Ming nodded in agreement. The Qingyun sect was merely a small locale, unable to accompany Yin Bei on his journey towards broader horizons. Yin Bei was not unaware of the meaning behind Qi Ming's words, but he decided to accompany her nonetheless. Upon hearing this, Long Xingyun felt a sense of relief. He had fulfilled Feng Zhiyue's task and would have a chance to shine before the goddess later. Go ahead and inform me upon your return. Qi Ming brushed her hair aside, her sweet smile reminiscent of a poised and virtuous wife awaiting her husband's return. You are coming with me, Yin Bei declared, his tone imbued with an air of authority that brooked no dissent. Me? Accompany you? Qi Ming was momentarily taken aback. Of course. I cannot bear to leave you here alone, Yin Bei replied with a gentle smile. While each room in the Zhuexiang Lu was indeed protected by formations, he could not guarantee that those with ill intentions would refrain from troubling Qi Ming in his absence. After all, her beauty was truly unparalleled, a sight to behold. Qi Ming was someone he had brought out from the Qingyun sect, and if anything were to go awry, he would find it difficult to explain to the sect leader and his master upon their return. At that moment, Long Xingyun wore an expression akin to one suffering from constipation. He had merely intended to invite someone, yet he found himself inundated with an overwhelming wave of romantic tension. Truly, what a spectacle! Qi Ming's cheeks flushed with a rosy hue, her demeanor tinged with shyness. Yin Bei's words enveloped her heart in warmth. Chapter 55, The Banquet in Tianyi City. At the Lord's mansion, within the waterside pavilion. Although the hour was late, the atmosphere remained vibrant with song and dance, and no one exhibited the slightest hint of fatigue. Do you think that person will show up here? Most attendees were engrossed in speculation about whether Yin Bei would indeed make an appearance. After all, Long Xingyun had been gone for quite a while. If he were coming, he would surely have arrived by now. If he dares to come, I shall make him regret it. A brooding figure clad in armor from the Bakuan sect declared ominously. He was furious that someone dared to bully his brother, Huang Feng. Relying on their realm of spiritual power, he had already resolved that even if Yin Bei did not appear, he would visit Zhexiang Lu after the banquet to discover the identity of the audacious individual who dared to insult the prince of Yunlong Kingdom. Just then, as if on cue, the armored figure's words were interrupted by the sound of rushing air from a distance. Long Xingyun arrived first and turned to the young man beside him, saying, "We have arrived." Yin Bei nodded, leading Qi Ming as they followed Long Xingyun further ahead. Their entrance immediately captivated the attention of everyone present. Upon the lake, a figure, ethereal and otherworldly, approached with grace. Clad in flowing white garments, he exuded an air of tranquility, hands clasped behind him, radiating an aura of transcendence. This figure was none other than Yin Bei. With his recent advancement in cultivation, he embodied an almost celestial presence. Even Qi Ming, walking beside him, could not help but steal furtive glances at Yin Bei. One could not deny that he looked remarkably splendid at that moment. Was this the individual whom the Lord praised? Indeed, he was strikingly extraordinary. The gathering of illustrious women present turned their gazes toward Yin Bei, their eyes glimmering with a hint of infatuation. Such a strikingly handsome man was a rare sight indeed. Who was that enchanting lady in the purple dress? The attention of the male cultivators present was naturally diverted from Yin Bei and fixated on his companion, Qi Ming. At this moment, Qi Ming had chosen not to wear her veil, as per Yin Bei's specific request. Draped in a flowing purple gown, she danced gracefully beneath the moonlight, resembling a spirit of the night gliding over the lake's surface. The gazes of the young prodigies in attendance were ablaze with fervor as they beheld Qi Ming. Even the usually stoic heavenly dragon son couldn't help but show a hint of emotion, his eyes betraying a ripple of intrigue. The beauty of this woman was such that only Feng Zhiyu present could be considered her equal. Many eyes were drawn to a breathtaking woman clad in fiery red. Seated deep within the pavilion, Feng Zhiyu's captivating eyes flitted back and forth between Yin Bei and Qi Ming, her curiosity piqued by Yin Bei's unfathomable cultivation level, which she found utterly inscrutable. Although Yin Bei was currently walking upon the lake's surface, skillfully enveloping his feet in spiritual energy to prevent any descent, even this did not allow her to discern his cultivation. In contrast, Qi Ming's level was evident to all, merely at the third stage of the Thunder Tribulation realm. Yin Bei, however, exuded an air of mystery, with his transcendent demeanor and the calmness of his expression amidst the scrutiny of so many prodigies, qualities that were not commonly possessed. A faint smile curled on Feng Zhiyu's lips as she regarded Yin Bei with keen interest. Just then, A robust voice echoed through the air. Kid, I didn't expect you to actually dare to attend this banquet. You possess quite the audacity. A heavily armored man from the dominant fist sect rose, looking down at Yin Bei from his elevated position by the lake. This scene instantly captured the interest of all present. The man's name was Wang Li, a notable young powerhouse. Though not on par with the extraordinary heirs of the Divine Sons, he was not to be underestimated. What has gotten into Wang Li? Does he have a grudge against this young man? Or perhaps he has taken a liking to someone else's companion? Laughter and murmurs filled the pavilion as onlookers gazed downward with amusement. While Yin Bei had received the commendation of the city lord, many remained skeptical, especially after witnessing Qi Ming's modest cultivation level. A low-tier Thunder Tribulation Realm cultivator, hardly worthy to attend such a banquet. Yet, out of respect, few dared to voice their disdain. With Wang Li stepping forward, their interest was instantly piqued. Oh, and who might you be? Yin Bei halted, slightly raising his head to meet Wang Li's gaze, his brow furrowing in confusion. He was certain he had never encountered this man before. Initially, Qi Ming had felt anxious upon arriving at this gathering, recognizing that all attendees were either nobles or formidable individuals. However, witnessing Yin Bei's composed demeanor allowed her to gradually relax. Now, with Wang Li's unexpected confrontational stance, her heart filled with concern once more, though her expression remained unchanged. For she had faith in Yin Bei. The woman before me is indeed remarkable. Her courage to attend this gathering with her cultivation at the Thunder Tribulation stage is commendable. Now, standing resolutely under the aura emanating from Wang Li, she presents an intriguing sight. Feng Jiue's beautiful eyes gleam with brilliance, her gaze sweeping continuously over Qi Ming's form. Who I am is of no concern to you. You need only understand that you lack the qualifications to partake in this assembly, Wang Li declared disdainfully, standing with arms crossed atop the pavilion. Lack qualifications, you say? Then why extend an invitation to me? Yin Bei's gaze turned icy as he directed it towards Long Xingyun on the pavilion above. Was this a jest at his expense? If so, he would not hesitate to ensure these individuals regretted their recent decision. Long Xingyun, catching the chill in Yin Bei's eyes, rose to his feet and addressed Wang Li. What are you doing? He is the very person we collectively proposed to invite. What is your intention now? Wang Li's expression shifted slightly at Long Xingyun's words. Indeed, Yin Bei had been proposed for invitation by the group. Even the Phoenix Goddess had spoken in his favor. Despite his formidable strength, each person present was equally powerful. Moreover, the Phoenix Goddess commanded respect. To defy her wishes could lead to dire consequences for him. Yet, the thought of the Lord of the City's lamentable state, due to Huang Feng today, filled him with rage, igniting his desire for vengeance on behalf of his brother. Wang Li turned his gaze, scanning the crowd, and noted that aside from Long Xingyun, no one else had uttered a word, nor did any display a hint of emotion. Even the Phoenix Goddess, Feng Jiue, appeared indifferent, seemingly uninterested in the unfolding situation. This revelation sparked a glimmer of hope in him. He realized these individuals would not intervene. Chapter 56. Taking action, shocking the crowd. Xingyun, I merely believe this individual lacks the strength to be present at the City Lord's banquet. Hence I felt compelled to speak up and prevent any embarrassment for everyone, Wang Li said with a forced smile, bowing slightly to Long Xingyun. He dared not offend the goddess, nor the Divine Son, for Long Xingyun was the younger brother of the Heavenly Dragon Divine Son, and he understood the gravity of his position. Wang Li continued, however, the lady accompanying him may remain at the banquet. It would be quite agreeable for her to serve the Divine Son wine. Perhaps fortune favors her, and the Divine Son may choose her as a handmaiden. Upon hearing Wang Li's words, the assembly muttered scornfully, branding him a petty man. Was he not openly suggesting, in front of Yin Bei, that he was speaking of his wife? Such a move was both malicious and insidious. At that moment, even Feng Jiue's eyes glimmered with suppressed ire, her delicate fingers leaving distinct imprints on the bronze cup. Yet, she refrained from erupting, choosing instead to observe further. Long Xingyun glanced at Qi Ming, who appeared as a celestial being upon the lake, then back at his brother. Just as he was about to speak, a commanding voice resonated. Enough, Xingyun, take your seat. The Heavenly Dragon Divine Son's expression remained indifferent. What? The atmosphere instantly thickened. What did the Heavenly Dragon Divine Son's words imply? Did this signify tacit approval of Wang Li's proposition? Long Xingyun gazed at his brother in disbelief, as if seeing him for the first time. Is this truly my brother, who holds the grand path in such high regard? It seems that my brother did not possess an aversion to beauty. Rather, no one had captured his interest until now. The ethereal aura emanating from Qi Ming has captivated him profoundly. As Wang Li remarked, it would not be unwise to keep her as a maidservant. At this moment, Wang Li's expression brightened. With the Heavenly Dragon Son having spoken, Long Xingyun dared not utter another word, and promptly took a seat in silence. Feng Jiue cast a glance at the heavenly dragon son, her lips curling into a sardonic smile. Indeed, men are all the same. Young man, did you hear that? Leave this enchanting lady to serve wine for the esteemed son. You may take your leave now. Wang Li turned and soared from the pavilion, laughing raucously in the void. Rather than physically assaulting this man, humiliating him seemed far more gratifying. Simultaneously, Wang Li adopted a provocative demeanor, his gaze challenging Yan Bei. As if to say, how does it feel to have your woman in front of you? The onlookers turned their eyes toward the lake. Their curiosity piqued regarding Yan Bei's forthcoming decision. Would he take a desperate gamble, culminating in a dismal outcome? Or would he meekly surrender his companion to curry favor with the heavenly dragon's son? Have you said enough? A voice, calm yet chilling, emerged. Yan Bei spoke with an air of detachment. Yet, all present could detect the bone-chilling undertone within this seemingly tranquil voice. Unable to tolerate Wang Li's continued raucous laughter, Yan Bei's expression shifted to one of fierce intensity as he extended his hand into the void. Boom. The air trembled as a terrifying hand, manifested from spiritual energy, coalesced above Wang Li's head, striking down upon him. Wang Li, sensing this overwhelming force, paled and hastily raised his arm in defense. However, he possessed no means to withstand it. With a resounding crash, he was sent plummeting into the lake, creating a tumultuous splash. The spectators gazed in shock at the unfolding scene. What transpired? Wang Li was actually sent flying with a single strike? He was a formidable warrior at the 5th level of the primordial spirit realm. How could this be? Qi Ming observed as Wang Li was cast aside by Yan Bei's palm, her eyes sparkling with starlight. An unparalleled sense of security enveloped her heart. As if with this man by her side, even the heavens could collapse without causing her harm. In the pavilion, the heavenly dragon's son furrowed his brows. Yan Bei's strength had indeed exceeded his expectations, yet he did not take it to heart. His frown was born of the expression Qi Ming wore, a bashful demeanor that stirred an unexpected turmoil within him, though it was not directed toward him. Wang Li's earlier suggestion of taking Qi Ming as his maidservant had genuinely piqued the heavenly dragon's son's interest. Just then, a figure surged from the lake. The very Wang Li who had just been cast into the depths by Yan Bei's hand. Young man, how dare you ambush me? Wang Li's face was aflame with fury. This boy had humiliated him before so many, truly courting disaster. Do I need to resort to ambush tactics to deal with you? Yan Bei's expression remained indifferent, his gaze filled with disdain. You seek death. Dominating fist. Wang Li roared, and a surge of crimson light erupted, instantly enveloping the sky and staining the lake a deep crimson hue. This was the signature technique of the dominating fist sect, enhancing Wang Li's strength by 30% during its execution, while he felt no pain whatsoever. He raised his fist and struck fiercely towards Yan Bei without the slightest hint of restraint. Having just lost face in front of the crowd, he was determined to crush this person with overwhelming force. As Wang Li charged towards him, Yan Bei sneered contemptuously. Dominating fist? Perhaps it should be renamed the turtle fist. In an instant, Yan Bei's body trembled slightly and then vanished from sight. The next moment, he reappeared right in front of Wang Li. The onlookers gasped, their pupils constricting in astonishment. Such speed. Yan Bei was now merely a meter away from Wang Li, within striking distance. Was he courting death by getting so close? Many gasped in disbelief. Wang Li's strength was formidable, especially when wielding the dominating fist. Engaging him in close combat was hardly wise. Wang Li's gaze sharpened, revealing a savage smile. Since you seek death, do not blame me. A beam of crimson light pierced the air, crashing down toward Yan Bei. However, the crowd was left dumbfounded in the next moment. What? They all stood in shock, their eyes wide. He actually caught Wang Li's full-force strike with just a finger. A strikingly beautiful woman rose, her eyes filled with disbelief at the scene before her. Was that finger forged from steel? No, even steel would shatter under Wang Li's blow. Others were equally astonished. This was utterly unbelievable. Yan Bei had not dodged, but had instead extended a finger to meet Wang Li's fist head-on. Wang Li's eyes widened. He had never expected this person's finger to possess such terrifying power, able to withstand his attack without yielding an inch. Break it, Wang Li bellowed, the crimson light intensifying as a terrifying force erupted from his fist once more. He aimed to shatter Yan Bei's finger. Yet Wang Li had clearly miscalculated. Before him, that finger stood like an indomitable pillar, utterly unbreakable. Is this all the strength you possess? Yan Bei's expression remained cold and indifferent as he spoke softly. Simultaneously, a chilling force erupted from the tip of Yan Bei's finger, unleashing a terrifying beam of light that pierced the very fabric of the air. Ah! A piercing scream echoed throughout the Lord's mansion. At this moment, Wang Li stood pale as a ghost, beads of sweat the size of soybeans cascading from his forehead. He reached for his right arm, where blood gushed forth, but it was already empty. His entire right arm had been reduced to a mist of crimson with that single strike. You dare sever my arm? Wang Li trembled uncontrollably, his face ashen with fear. If an ordinary person were to lose an entire arm, they would likely have succumbed to fainting from the pain. Yet Wang Li was still able to speak. This was the effect of the Bakuan technique, which rendered him completely impervious to discomfort at that moment. Oh, to endure such excruciating pain and still articulate words is indeed remarkable, but it appears that is where it ends. Yanbei watched this scene with an expression of astonishment. No sooner had he spoken than he vanished from sight, reappearing instantaneously behind Wang Li, delivering a fierce kick. Boom. Wang Li was sent crashing violently into a nearby vacant area, unaware of his fate. How dare he speak so arrogantly with such limited strength? Yanbei cast a disdainful glance at the pit where Wang Li had fallen. At this moment, the entire loft fell silent. Everyone stood in a daze, gazing at the figure of the man in white, who hovered in midair. He had incapacitated Wang Li. Wang Li, in his hands, was as defenseless as a 3-year-old child. The crowd could not help but swallow hard, their expressions a mix of shock. Even the son of the heavenly dragon regarded Yanbei with grave seriousness, for he still could not discern the true extent of Yanbei's power. He seemed like an unfathomable abyss, deep and inscrutable. Feng Zhiyu finally cast a proper glance at Yanbei, her thoughts mirroring those of the son of the heavenly dragon. In light of the hostility directed towards them at this banquet, Yanbei turned to survey the room before coldly addressing Long Xingyun. That icy gaze sent a shiver down Long Xingyun's spine, prompting him to instinctively draw closer to his brother. At that moment, Yanbei appeared to him as a merciless demon. Yanbei descended swiftly, landing beside Qi Ming, just as he prepared to escort her back to Zuixiang Lu. A melodious voice rang out, "Wait." Yanbei halted, turning his gaze towards the source of the voice. "What? Do you wish to be struck as well?" As his words fell, an eerie silence enveloped the entire loft. The crowd's expressions shifted, revealing their disbelief as they looked at Yanbei with shock. How dare he speak so brazenly to the divine lady? Many gasped in astonishment, their faces betraying their astonishment. Indeed, it was Feng Zhiyu who had just spoken. Renowned throughout the Eastern domain for her fiery temperament due to her bloodline of the Fire Phoenix, her wrath was notorious. There was once a man who inadvertently offended her, only to be relentlessly pursued and beaten for over 10 days, ultimately kneeling in front of the Fire Phoenix Valley for days on end to beg for forgiveness. Now, Yanbei's audacious inquiry to Feng Zhiyu about whether she too wished to be struck was a provocation she could not let pass lightly. Just as everyone anticipated a fierce confrontation between the two, Feng Zhiyu's lovely face flushed with anger, yet she seemed to recall something, swiftly suppressing her fury. Clenching her silver teeth, she said, "Your temper is even fiercer than mine. Truly, you show no regard for the delicate. You have defeated Wang Li, thus proving your worthiness to participate in this banquet." The young talents present exchanged glances of mild surprise, for they had expected the two to engage in combat by now. Why did the Phoenix goddess extend an invitation to him to attend the banquet? Does he truly possess the qualifications to join? Yanbei chuckled lightly. "Indeed, you have already proven your worth," Feng Zhiyu affirmed with a nod. Yanbei's prowess was evident to all present. His ability to overpower Wang Li spoke volumes. Just as everyone anticipated that Yanbei would graciously accept Feng Zhiyu's invitation and ascend to the pavilion, he declared, "I initially thought tonight's gathering at the City Lord's mansion would be a grand affair, filled with exceptional talents. However, it appears to be merely a congregation of insignificant figures, which utterly fails to pique my interest. While you deem me worthy, I find you all lacking. Hence, I shall forego this banquet." Yanbei surveyed each individual in attendance, then let out a cold laugh. With that, he wrapped his arm around Qi Ming's slender waist and transformed into a streak of lightning, departing swiftly. The individuals present felt a sense of disappointment wash over them. Had it not been for Qi Ming's persuasion, he would not have graced this gathering with his presence. All eyes were fixed on the vanishing flash of lightning, their expressions momentarily stunned. A congregation of insignificant figures? Good heavens! Is he insulting us? How audacious! At that moment, everyone was taken aback. It was unprecedented for someone to so brazenly demean such a multitude of prodigies. It was worth noting that among them were the dragon's son and the Phoenix goddess, heirs of extraordinary lineages. Damn it! A voice seethed with barely contained fury, as Feng Zhiyu's face blanched with rage, her feet stamping furiously on the ground. How dare he label her a mere insignificant figure? This was infuriating. Feng Zhiyu, had never encountered such disrespect throughout her life. The dragon's son's expression was equally grim, his countenance darkened. Was he not the one being referred to as a mud dog? He cast his gaze toward the direction in which Yanbei had departed, his eyes swirling with unspoken thoughts. How infuriating! I have never been this angry before. I will ensure he pays dearly. Feng Zhiyu, resembling a furious little tiger, gritted her teeth. She intended to utter Yan Bei's name, only to realize she did not even know what he was called, which only fueled her indignation further. Cough, cough, enough, my dear. In 2 days, the secret realm shall open. Perhaps you will encounter him again then. At this moment, a commanding voice resonated, as the city lord, Tian Lin, appeared from the depths of the pavilion, his face radiating warmth. Yan Bei had indeed surprised him. He had not anticipated that this young man would be as audacious as he was outside the Tianmi pavilion, boldly chastising even the divine heirs present. This was a type of audacity he had never witnessed before. Nevertheless, he held a certain admiration for Yan Bei, a person so composed and fearless, destined for greatness. Chapter 58. Women can be quite exasperating. The city lord is correct. Once the secret realm opens, I shall make him pay dearly. A young prodigy rose, his expression icy. Enough. With your meager strength, you couldn't even best Wang Li. Do you truly believe you can confront others? You may end up with a mouthful of teeth scattered across the ground. A beautiful celestial maiden retorted mockingly. Yan Bei's recent display of formidable prowess, while offending a segment of the crowd, has nonetheless earned him a considerable measure of respect and apprehension from many. The blossoming young maidens are utterly captivated by Yan Bei's charm. A man of such striking handsomeness, commanding presence, and immense strength is truly a rarity. One that one would be hard-pressed to find even with a lantern. What did you say? The young prodigy's expression darkened in an instant as he cast a furious glance towards the beautiful woman. What? Do you wish to confront me? The enchanting woman, undeterred, met his gaze with equal intensity, a fiery red phoenix mark materializing on her brow. She, too, hails from the Fire Phoenix Valley. Though her status pales in comparison to that of the goddess, yet she remains a remarkable beauty in her own right. Nay, nay, dear sister, you jest. Upon seeing the fiery phoenix mark, the young man's countenance shifted dramatically, quickly returning to his seat with an awkward smile. Following this commotion, the banquet resumed its course. However, the thoughts of all present had strayed far from the festivities. Yan Bei had become the focal point of discussion among the attendees. Simultaneously, news of the imminent opening of the Tianyi secret realm was electrifying. Within it lay countless rare treasures and the legacies left by formidable beings of the Four Extremities realm. Acquiring them could propel one to unparalleled heights, allowing even those of divine lineage to vie for supremacy. Miss, it has been confirmed. The moment that individual appeared, the mark exhibited clear signs of revival. A female disciple from the Fire Phoenix Valley whispered to Feng Zhiyu. Oh, is she indeed the cause? Feng Zhiyu remarked with a grave expression. Initially uncertain, she noted that the once vibrant Ice Phoenix mark had once again fallen into silence after their departure, indicating that she was indeed the individual they sought. The female disciple, her demeanor unusually somber, responded, Yes, it appears she is the one we need. Hearing such resolute words from the disciple, Feng Zhiyu fell into silence. After a considerable pause, she said, Goddess, should we seek them out now? I have heard they are at the Drunken Fragrance Tower in the city. Let us refrain for now. This matter requires further contemplation. You witnessed the individual by her side. He is no ordinary foe. If we proceed carelessly, it might yield counterproductive results. Feng Zhiyu mused, her expression serious. Indeed, I acted rashly. I shall inform the elders of the valley immediately, the disciple replied, her face still etched with concern. She had witnessed Yan Bei's abilities firsthand and feared that even the goddess might not be entirely confident in overcoming him. There is no need. They will inevitably venture into the secret realm, and I shall devise a plan. If it proves ineffective, I will not hesitate to contact the valley elders later. Feng Zhiyu interjected, halting the disciple's actions. The disciple wished to voice another thought, but, upon seeing Feng Zhiyu's expression, obediently fell silent. Thus, the banquet concluded swiftly. Yet, Yan Bei's arrival had instilled a sense of vigilance among the attendees. A new contender had emerged, one whose strength rivaled that of the divine. As they prepared to enter the Tianyi secret realm, they would need to exercise utmost caution, for this individual was a wild card, unafraid to take risks. Meanwhile, Wang Li, lying forgotten in a pit, would not be discovered until long after the banquet had ended, when a servant stumbled upon him and arranged for him to be taken to a guest room in the Lord's mansion for recuperation. The following day, in the royal palace of the Cloud Dragon Kingdom, the air was thick with tension. Outrageous. A man adorned in royal garb, exuding an aura of unparalleled majesty, struck forth with a single hand, instantly shattering the priceless dragon table before him into mere dust. He was none other than the sovereign of the Cloud Dragon Kingdom, King Yunlong. Last night, a missive was sent by the ninth prince, Huang Feng, detailing his humiliation in Tianyi City, where he was coerced in public to surrender 1,000,000 spiritual stones for his life. else he would face execution on the streets. In desperation, he borrowed 500,000 spiritual stones from the city lord, thus managing to assemble the requisite sum and secure his escape with his life intact. At this moment, the court officials, both civil and military, were rendered speechless with fear. They were acutely aware that the emperor was in a furious state, and none dared to emerge as a target for his wrath, lest they incur his displeasure. The audacity to so disgrace a prince of the Cloud Dragon Kingdom was truly intolerable. King Yunlong's countenance darkened with fury, and an overwhelming pressure enveloped the royal city, instilling trepidation in all present. As a formidable being of the fourth extremity realm, the power he harbored was boundless, capable of moving mountains and parting seas. Your Majesty, please temper your wrath. The second prince has already set forth for Tianyi City and shall arrive shortly. That arrogant individual will undoubtedly pay a bloody price. A venerable minister stepped forward, speaking with a grave tone. Upon hearing this, King Yunlong's expression softened slightly. Where is General Tianwei? The king bellowed. Here, Your Majesty. A robust man clad in silver armor immediately emerged, kneeling with utmost respect. I charge you to proceed forthwith to Tianyi City, to assist the second prince, and ensure that arrogant wretch is brought back. I shall personally interrogate him. I am eager to discern the identity of the forces that dare to trample upon the dignity of the Cloud Dragon Kingdom. King Yunlong commanded with an air of authority. The officials present felt a shiver run through them, recognizing the gravity of the emperor's resolve. Although the ninth prince was the youngest, he enjoyed the deepest affection from the emperor, being the biological son of the empress, a privilege not shared by the other princes. I accept the command and shall not bring disgrace upon Your Majesty, General Tianwei declared, rising with a fierce determination, prepared to set off for Tianyi City. Just as he was about to depart, King Yunlong interjected. Wait. What further orders do you have, Your Majesty? General Tianwei knelt once more, his demeanor respectful. Deliver this 1,000,000 spiritual stones to that young lad, Tianlin, King Yunlong said, gesturing with his arm, causing a high-grade storage ring to materialize before General Tianwei. 1,000,000? Is he not? General Tianwei paused, momentarily bewildered. Hadn't Tianlin just lent 500,000 spiritual stones to the ninth prince? Why then was the king instructing him to take 1,000,000? The Cloud Dragon Kingdom owes him no debts. The 500,000 is but a token of gratitude for his timely intervention in saving the ninth prince's life. King Yunlong replied, his gaze steady. The officials were taken aback, recognizing the profound affection King Yunlong held for his ninth son, for merely lending 500,000 spiritual stones to preserve the ninth prince's life. The king was returning the favor with a sum of 1,000,000. I accept the command, General Tianwei exclaimed, his expression resolute. Yunlong Wang pinched his brow, casting a glance towards the inner palace. If the queen were to discover the humiliation her son had endured, she would undoubtedly be even more furious than he was. Even someone as formidable as Yunlong Wang could not help but worry about how to placate the enraged queen upon returning to the palace. Alas, women are truly a source of vexation. Chapter 59. Monkey Wine in Tianyi City. A ray of blinding sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating a handsome face. Yanbei raised his hand to shield his eyes, narrowing them into a mere slit. Has it already reached noon? After the banquet last night, Yanbei and Qiming returned to the drunken fragrance building deep into the night. Thus, he slumbered soundly until this moment. After a while, Yanbei's eyes regained a semblance of clarity, and he addressed an entity within his consciousness. Tomato check-in. His check-in locations were not limited to Qilong Mountain. Any place would suffice. However, the rewards were random. It had been a long time since he had received something of substantial value. Yanbei felt a swell of anticipation, curious if this change in location would yield something extraordinary. Ding. Detected that this place is the Drunken Fragrance Building. Congratulations to the host for successful check-in. Reward, a jar of monkey wine. Monkey wine. Yanbei was momentarily taken aback as a jar of fragrant liquor materialized in his hand. At that moment, the sound of a door opening resonated. Qiming emerged from the bedroom, and upon seeing Yanbei, a sweet smile immediately blossomed on her lips. You're awake too. At this moment, Qiming was clad in a simple camisole, with even her trousers appearing somewhat translucent like lace. Coupled with her naturally cool demeanor, the sweet smile she displayed melted Yanbei's heart in an instant. You seem to be in a good mood today, Yanbei remarked, rising with a smile. Of course, when venturing out with the renowned Mr. Wulong, one must maintain a cheerful disposition. Otherwise, if someone finds me bothersome, I would have nowhere to lament. Qiming playfully stuck her tongue out at Yanbei. Yanbei paused for a moment, then chuckled wryly. Indeed, Qiming had seen through his identity. However, it was no matter. He had no intention of deliberately concealing it since he decided to venture out with her. After all, spending every day together would inevitably lead her to uncover the truth. What surprised him, though, was the sight of the usually aloof and icy saintess, who now displayed such playful gestures typical of a young girl. How could I find the esteemed saintess so bothersome, when she is so beautifully radiant? Yin Bei jestingly responded. Upon hearing the title saintess, Qiming's cheeks flushed a delicate shade of crimson. Now that she was aware of Yin Bei's strength, she found it difficult to uphold her identity as the saintess of Qingyun's sect. Her meager cultivation was hardly worthy of comparison, making it embarrassing for her to consider herself as such. Please refrain from teasing me. From now on, do not call me saintess, Qiming said bashfully. If not saintess, what shall I call you? Yin Bei inquired instinctively. How should I know? You can call me whatever you wish. It is beyond my control, Qiming replied, her body shifting shyly. Yin Bei fell into contemplation, pondering what name would be suitable to address Qiming. Calling her by her full name felt too formal. Yet, it seemed inappropriate to refer to her as Meng'er like the sect leader or master, as it would imply too much intimacy. I shall call you Xiao Meng from now on, Yin Bei declared with a smile. Xiao Meng repeated the name softly, a radiant smile blossoming on her face. Let that be my name henceforth. With that settled, Yin Bei continued. It is already past noon. Are you hungry, Xiao Meng? Shall we venture out for a meal? I happen to have a jug of fine wine. He produced the monkey wine he had just obtained from signing in. Now that you mention it, I am rather hungry. But perhaps we should forego dining out. Instead, we could have the server bring our meal to the room, Qiming suggested, confidently taking a seat on the sofa. Unbeknownst to her, at the very moment she sat down, her attire inadvertently revealed her figure, two enticing curves swaying freely. Yin Bei, possessing considerable composure, could not help but notice this captivating sight. Instantly, an inappropriate heat surged within him, almost causing blood to rush from his nose and mouth. He swiftly turned away, his cheeks flushed despite his usual boldness. It would be rather inconvenient for you to reveal such in public. The patrons of the tavern might go wild, he remarked. Qiming found amusement in Yin Bei's reaction, surprised that someone as fearless as him would feel bashful in her presence. Yin Bei quickly made his escape, heading straight to the door of room 1. Upon entering, a smiling server approached him. Esteemed guest, how may I assist you? The server inquired. Yet, upon recognizing Yin Bei, an expression of fear flickered in his eyes. The reputation of room 1 at the Zuexiang Tavern had spread throughout Tianyi City, not due to its opulence, but because of its current occupant. News of Yin Bei's confrontation with the heir of the Baquan sect, Wang Li, had circulated, including his audacious remarks dismissing the divine offspring as mere clay chickens and tile dogs. Such a reckless individual resided in their establishment, instilling apprehension in the ordinary server. To serve a lord is akin to accompanying a tiger, he thought, fearing that a mere misstep might provoke this formidable figure into a wrathful response. However, the server's concerns were unfounded. Yin Bei casually ordered a selection of dishes. That will suffice. Please have them delivered to my room once prepared, he instructed the server. Of course. Is there anything else you require? The server asked. Nothing more. Ah, and please fetch 2 wine cups. Here is the payment. Keep the change. Yin Bei tossed a bag of spirit stones before shutting the door behind him. Now he can be considered quite affluent. After annihilating the blood god sect, he acquired millions of spirit stones. Recently, he had also just received another million from that so-called ninth prince. In Yin Bei's possession, spirit stones were abundant. The young waiter opened the bag in his hand, and instantly, a dazzling white light nearly blinded him. He stood there, momentarily dazed. This meal could hardly cost more than 5 spirit stones, yet there were actually over 100 spirit stones within the bag. 1 spirit stone alone could ensure the sustenance of an ordinary mortal family for several years. The guest residing in room 1 had casually tipped him with over 100 spirit stones. The young waiter was overwhelmed with excitement. With such a fortune, his life would undergo a tremendous transformation. However, he did not forget Yin Bei's instructions and hurried to the kitchen to arrange the dishes as ordered. Soon, steaming hot delicacies were delivered to room 1. In room 1, the curtains were drawn, and a soft, warm light enveloped the faces of the 2 individuals. They exchanged smiles, and the room was suffused with a subtle ambience. Observing the scene, Yin Bei felt a trace of nostalgia. It resembled a candlelit dinner from his past life. He gentlemanly poured a cup of monkey wine for Qiming. They clinked their glasses together. Qiming took a delicate sip, and her eyes immediately brightened. The wine was undoubtedly fragrant and rich, but what astonished her was that after just a small sip, she sensed a subtle enhancement in her cultivation. To confirm her suspicion, she quickly took another sip. Indeed, it was the wine's effect. Suddenly, her expression changed, and she closed her eyes. With a powerful aura emanating from her, she broke through to the 4th level of the Thunder Tribulation realm. What kind of wine is this? Qiming exclaimed in shock. After just 2 sips, her cultivation had risen a level. It was simply terrifying. This wine is called monkey wine, a recent acquisition of mine, Yin Bei replied with a gentle smile. Although Tomato had not elaborated on the wine, it must be exceptional. The aroma of the wine rivaled that of Moutai from his previous life. But this wine carried an intriguing fruity scent as well. Monkey wine, Qi Ming murmured, unable to conceal her astonishment. The name of this wine was indeed peculiar. Could it be brewed by monkeys? She gazed in surprise at the glass of wine in her hand. At that moment, this seemingly simple cup felt as heavy as 1,000 pounds. She was terrified of spilling even a drop. She realized that this cup, if presented to the outside world, could be deemed celestial brew. Even a single cup would likely be priceless, enough to drive all cultivators mad with desire. At this moment, Qi Ming felt a twinge of reluctance to drink it. Could such a divine concoction be squandered by her? Why are you just staring at it? It's not some rare treasure, Yanbei remarked as he raised his glass and drank it all in one go. He found nothing particularly remarkable about the wine, merely sensing it was akin to fruit juice, albeit with a hint of alcoholic sharpness. Qi Ming watched with a pang of heartache as Yanbei downed a glass in one gulp. Perhaps we should save some to take back for Uncle Feng and the others to taste. Resisting the urge to drink it all at once, Qi Ming set the glass back on the table. Yanbei's action slowed, and he cast a gentle glance at Qi Ming, who sat before him. I have already set aside a portion for them. Drink up, it's perfectly fine. Yanbei produced another wine pot, exuding an aroma reminiscent of the famed monkey wine. He knew well that his master had a fondness for wine, so upon acquiring the monkey wine, he had divided it into 2 portions, of which they were now savoring merely a small fraction. Qi Ming's face lit up with a bright smile upon seeing the wine pot in Yanbei's hand. In that moment, they exchanged knowing smiles, their reservations dissipating. Qi Ming opened her heart and began to drink with Yanbei. Undeniably, the monkey wine was exquisite. Even Qi Ming, who seldom indulged in alcohol, found herself utterly enamored with its flavor after a few sips. Thus, they drank profusely. I can still drink, Qi Ming exclaimed. Her eyes glazed as she hiccuped. At that moment, she was far removed from her icy goddess persona. After her declaration, she collapsed onto the table, unconscious. Yanbei, though not as far gone as Qi Ming, was not in a much better state, his complexion flushed and his mind in a haze. The monkey wine was indeed no ordinary beverage, possessing a potent after-effect. Even someone of Yanbei's caliber found it challenging to withstand. Were it not for his cultivation, he too might have succumbed. All right, it's time for bed, you can't drink anymore, Yanbei murmured through blurred vision. He then unsteadily rose to his feet, intending to carry the unconscious Qi Ming back to her room. With a gentle embrace around her waist, he helped her up, and together they stumbled toward the bedroom, colliding with the walls along the way. This was not intentional on Yanbei's part, for he was quite unaware of his actions. His sole focus was to ensure Qi Ming reached her room, fearing she might catch a chill if left outside. At long last, through his persistent efforts, Yanbei managed to escort Qi Ming into the bedroom. As soon as the door swung open, a waft of fragrant air enveloped them, momentarily clearing Yanbei's mind. Feeling the warmth emanating from his palm and gazing upon Qi Ming's exquisite beauty, he felt a stir of emotions. Nevertheless, he restrained himself. He gently placed Qi Ming on the bed and prepared to rise. You should sleep. I'll rest on the sofa, he said to the bedside table. Just as he turned, a pair of delicate, almost ethereal hands grasped him. I don't want you to leave. With a firm tug, Yanbei found himself falling onto the bed. In that instant, he seemed to lose consciousness, drifting into a deep slumber. The following day, he awoke with a throbbing headache. Yanbei extended his hand to rub his forehead, contemplating the overwhelming potency of the monkey wine. Suddenly, he sensed a warm breath beside him. He opened his eyes wide, surveying the surrounding environment and the quilt draped over him. Oh no, could it be? He slowly turned his head, and what met his gaze was an exquisite face. Her flowing black hair sprawled like clouds, and even in slumber, the sorrow lingering in her brow and eyes could not be erased. His eyes traveled over her butterfly-like lashes and rosy lips, finally landing on her delicately exposed shoulder, prompting a tightening of his breath at the sight of her skin. Pure as milk, gazing at the slightly disheveled sheets, he could only imagine the story that had unfolded upon them the previous night. Yanbei was momentarily frozen, unsure of how to proceed. Yet, from this moment, he understood that he and Qi Ming would share an inseparable bond throughout this life. At that moment, a low, languid moan resonated in his ear, sending a shiver down Yanbei's spine. In the next instant, his expression shifted dramatically. A snow-white arm draped across his chest, accompanied by a smooth thigh that enveloped him tightly. Yanbei's demeanor stiffened. He dared not move, fearful of awakening the slumbering Qi Ming beside him. Chapter 61. Dream or reality. Time slipped away, and eventually, the inevitable arrived. This sleep is so comfortable. A melodious voice tinged with languor emerged as Qi Ming slightly opened her beautiful eyes. A remarkably handsome face instantly appeared before her. Qi Ming was momentarily taken aback, then shook her head. Is this a dream? Though she occasionally dreamt of Yin Bei, the sensation this time felt overwhelmingly real. She could even feel the warmth radiating from him. However, being held while sleeping was rather pleasant. As Qi Ming indulged in her wandering thoughts, an unexpected voice pierced the air. You must let me explain, Yin Bei said with utmost seriousness. Qi Ming's heart jolted, but she soon relaxed. It was quite normal for dream figures to speak. She then tightened her embrace around Yin Bei with her jade-like legs, leaning slightly closer. After all, this was a dream, and she adhered to the notion that one should seize the opportunity when it arises. Yin Bei gazed at Qi Ming in utter astonishment. This girl was nothing like he had imagined. Shouldn't a person wake up in such a situation with a startled scream, promptly snatching away the quilt to cover themselves? Why was it different for him? Qi Ming woke without a fuss, even choosing to draw him in closer. What was this? Had his handsome visage completely captivated her? Indeed, it seemed so. However, at that moment, a flicker of doubt crossed Qi Ming's eyes. Was the dream this vivid? She questioned, touching the softness beneath her fingers, which felt undeniably real, accompanied by the strong rhythm of his heartbeat, filling her with uncertainty. In the next heartbeat, her beautiful eyes widened significantly. No way. Could this truly be real? Qi Ming lifted her head once more, casting a glance toward Yin Bei. Upon noticing her gaze, Yin Bei broke into a smile. At that moment, Qi Ming was utterly stunned. Was this not a dream? Certainly not. Yin Bei smiled gently, and the air within the room seemed to freeze in that instant. Time stretched on, though how long it lasted was uncertain. Suddenly, a piercing sound erupted from the bedroom. Yin Bei's heart raced, and he quickly covered Qi Ming's mouth with his hand. Such a noise, if it escaped, would surely lead others to speculate about what they had been up to in the room. MMM. Qi Ming struggled incessantly, but her strength paled in comparison to Yin Bei's. Cough. Xiao Ming, let me explain. I truly did not mean it. Yin Bei continued to plead, only to let out a painful cry as he hastily withdrew his hand. Qi Ming had bitten down on his finger. If not for his formidable physique, it might have snapped under her grip. Seeing the blood trickling from Yin Bei's finger, a flicker of panic crossed Qi Ming's eyes. She had not anticipated that her moment of desperation would lead to such severity. I'm so sorry. I was just so frightened, Qi Ming said softly, wrapping herself in the blanket, her voice laced with grievance. Tears glistened in the corners of her eyes, cascading down her cheeks, leaving her expression tragically sorrowful. Yin Bei, witnessing her distressed demeanor, felt a surge of guilt wash over him. Ignoring the pain in his finger, he enveloped her in a warm embrace. The one who should apologize is me, he murmured, gently patting her back in a soothing gesture. He understood that any girl waking to such an event would find it difficult to accept. Nestled in Yin Bei's arms, Qi Ming trembled, still shaken by the ordeal. After a while, with tear-filled eyes, she raised her gaze to meet his. Rest assured, I will not hinder your future. Let us pretend as though nothing occurred. In her eyes, a person with her meager talents was unworthy of someone as extraordinary as Yin Bei, though she possessed a modicum of beauty. In a world where martial prowess reigned supreme, a figure like Yin Bei could easily attract admirers. He must be feeling quite conflicted as well. It would be better for her to voice her thoughts first, lest they both lose face in the end. Yin Bei gazed at her with a wry smile. Just as he was about to speak,